Hello and welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another exciting round of racing action in the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship Season 10 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. Proudly powered by none other than Doble Motorcycles, this is the series that continues to ask the question, who is the master or mistress of the front engine front wheel drive touring car racing class car machine? And we are here today for round number 4 of 10, making our way all the way to Italy for none other than the Italian Temple of Speed. That's right, we're here at the Autodromo National Monza for the circuit that will see our drivers go flat out for as most as possible over the entirety of the lap, and will need to be smart with the draft. Around here, being quick by yourself is no mean feat. Indeed, this is a circuit that definitely has a good multitude of corners, even though we've removed 2 of them in the form of the Rettifilio chicane. Indeed, we're running the layout minus the first chicane, and that increases the start-finish straight to the best part of a good mile. And as the drivers get ready to take on this circuit, well, they'll do so with a smile. Because we have had this circuit on the calendar for multiple seasons, and every time we've gone here, it really has been one of those circuits where the racing has come down to the finest of margins. We're not talking about seconds and tenths. No, we're talking about hundreds and thousandths, and that's before you consider the power of the draft. Because here, running the pack, you need to be smart. You need to creep your way forward and work with your rivals to make yourself successful. But if you time it incorrectly, you may find yourself losing out at the finish line and not being able to dine on a major haul of points. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in tonight to this round of racing, and indeed brought to you on free media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, you do have the 2 official NXTGEN Racing media channels which you can catch this on. One of which is on YouTube at youtube.com and search for NXTGEN Racing, and well, you can be tuning in there. We say hello to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube. Alternatively, if you're more of a Facebook user, you can go to facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing, and you can catch all the racing action live on the official NXTGEN Racing Facebook group. And hello to you guys and girls tuning in via Facebook. And lastly, of course, we do have the unofficial broadcast available on Twitch. That's at twitch.tv/Paul's Productions, and we can also see you all there tuning in today in Twitch, and hello to you guys and girls tuning in via that means. But regardless of what platform you're tuning in on tonight, well, of course, in the comments, if you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, and I'll bring you all your racing action as it unfolds from start to finish, and what a season has been so far, and we've still got plenty of racing that awaits us over the remainder of the season. But as we head into today, well, what exactly is our schedule? Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time, UTC, and as we can see, in approximately 18 minutes time, we'll make it away into the qualifying session. 15 minutes in duration, all drivers out there looking to go for pole position, after which they'll make their way straight to the grid for race number 1. Then race number 1 is expected to get underway at approximately 20 past 8 this evening, 11 laps in duration, with all drivers out there going for victory, after which we'll take a brief breather before returning at just before 10 past 9 for race number 2, another 11 lap thriller, and then we rinse and repeat, but not of course without our all-important reverse grid draw for race number 3, and then we'll be back for the gridding procedure at around 10 o'clock this evening for our final race of the day. So 3 sprints, 3 very exciting ones at that, and as we make our way into this round, well, let's give you a recap of the season so far and what lies in wait today. Because as we can see, as we continue to turn time through 2026, last time out on the 10th of February, we were in the US of A for a debut round of the Portland International Raceway. What did we get to see there? Well, firstly, we got to see there was an absolutely incredible circuit for touring car racing action. Indeed, I suspect it's going to be a circuit that's going to make its way back onto the schedule in future seasons just because of how close the racing was. But what we also got to see there in terms of your winners across the races, well, at the very front of the field in the overall proceedings, we got to see Swirydowicz take victory in races 1 and 2, albeit was one step ahead of the majority of the field, and in particular, it was him and his teammates of Project 26 for Alpha Touring Challenge who absolutely dominated in the races first and second, because we did see in races 1 and 2, it was a 1-2-3 for the team, and they absolutely ran rampant, and meanwhile in race number 3, with the reversal of the grid, well, it was a much more sedate race by comparison in most respects, and many drivers looking to consolidate places, and the overall win in race number 3 went to none other than Michael Lease, the prime driver, who took pole position as a result of the top 19 reverse grid, and he was able to make sure he could hold on to it for the rest of the race, even though Lee Horn put on absolutely relentless pressure over the entire distance. As for the prime class, well, what we got to see there was in our first race, Matthew Sherenson take victory after starting 6th in class, but major instance for many of his rivals in front of him, and he was able to gradually sneak his way on through, although in race number 2, he made it back-to-back victories in a much more straightforward race, albeit he lost the lead initially to debutant Owen Stitchbury, and then was able to sneak his way back past Stitchbury and Benel Triers, who also made their way on through, and what we got to see in the end that Matthew Sheraton really was cheeky and was able to find a way to get the 2 in front of him to fight each other too hard, and therefore he was able to sneak through for all the win. And as for race number 3, well, of course, Michael Lease for the overall win, the Pro-Am driver also taking his class win. As for the AM class, well, there we got to see a bit of a different nature of victories. It was Lewis Mason in race number 1, who just missed out on pole position in the class by 26 thousandths over Marcel Fridge, but what we got to see in the race was that he was able to move forward. He took the lead on lap number 1 and never let it go. And the same applied in race number 2, whereby he lost the lead initially to Marcel Fridge, but then was able to take it back through similar circumstances to how he lost it, battling with the man, albeit with the Pro-Am squeezing the way through as well. He was able to seize on the chaos. And as for race number 3, George Stone returned to victory, and benefits, of course, for a second place start overall, and he never let the lead go. So those were your winners. Those were the heroes of Portland International Raceway. And as we make our way to Italy today, it is the 24th of February 2026. It is round number 4 of 10, and we are here at the Autodromo Nacional Monza, minus its first chicane. But as we come into this round of racing, well, we told you the winners from last time out, but where exactly did the standing stand after 3 rounds of racing? Well, here we go. And as we can see, firstly, in the Drivers' Overall Championship, this is the biggest prize on offer, of course, which is your overall champion at the end of the season. And Wojciech Swirydowicz right now has taken the lead, and he's not let it go since round number 2. Fuji put on an absolutely incredible performance, and he almost matched it point for point last time out at Portland, albeit minus 1 point by comparison, but he is holding on to that lead by 12 points over Luciano Witvoet, and he was able to make sure his teammate was not able to steal the spoils on the top step in the first 2 races, even if he finished a little bit further back in race number 3. But to be fair, he's not getting complacent, that's a certain, and Witvoet as well with a DNF in race number 3. Well, that's cost him some major time. Meanwhile, Isaac Dole sitting in 3rd, and right now, for the Double Sim Racing driver, he really has shown that age is no blocker to success, one of our youngest drivers on the grid, and right now running in 3rd and leading the rest of the field as he's gradually breaking away. Indeed, some would say he's finding himself in a bit of no man's land at the moment, because whilst he is the best part of 43 points behind Luciano Witvoet, he is in turn the best part of none other than what is 27 points ahead of Andrew Pike, the Sim Racing Collective driver, who is growing stronger and stronger, and I'm sure his mum and dad right now are tuning in as well, as we do say hello to Roger in particular there. And, well, his wife's name escapes me at the moment, but I'm sure it's going to come back at some point in my mind. But as we do get ready to see how Andrew Pike gets on today, well, in 64 points there, he's 2 ahead of Logan McKinsey. And McKinsey, well, the 3rd member of the Project 26 for ATC group, unfortunately not quite able to have the results he wanted in the first 2 rounds, and that's why he's a little bit further behind compared to his teammates. Ben Altrier, he's been promoted to the Pro class as of this round. Indeed, we've had a few class shuffles as of the conclusion of round number 3, which we always do in the NXTCC. The first 3 rounds, we have no class changes typically, and after round number 3, that's when we update the classes, and they will be locked in now for the remainder of the season, unless we've got something excruciatingly wrong, at which point we will make an emergency call on the admin team, and that will also be discussed with the drivers up and down the paddock to make sure everybody is okay with any further changes to the classes. But Ben Altrier, he has earned the right to be promoted to the Pro class, and therefore he sits in 6th right now overall, and 61 points, 1 behind McKinsey, and in turn 2 ahead of Jamie Dory, who last time out didn't quite have a fun day in the office at Portland, particularly after his great results at Fuji the week before. Then it's Joseph Doble in 8th place there, ahead of Michael Lease, with Alex Meredith completing the top 10. And outside the top 10 to complete the top 20, that's as far as we'll go for the overall Drivers' Championship. It's Sam Exton in 11th there on 40 points, only ahead of Craig Twardock based on result countback, with Dan Mould there in 13th place. After not being on the grid the last time out, we hope to see him back in the near future. He's ahead of Lee Horn by only 4 points, and it's a further 4 to Stuart Winnis. We do then have Matthew Sheraton sitting in 16th at the moment on 22 points, having a better day in the office overall last time out after the misery of rounds 1 and 2, albeit he's only ahead on Mikey Doble based on result countback, with the defending champion have a miserable time so far, albeit round number 1 was okay, round number 2 was absolutely disastrous, and round number 3 he wasn't on the grid for it. Therefore, we hope to see him back today. Indeed, he is back today, so therefore he'll be locking in round number 3 as his drop score for the season. Nick Lewin sits in 18th, only the best part of 2 points behind, but 3 ahead of Ben Bennyworth, and Wayne Douglas completes your overall top 20. But now let's talk about the Pro-Am Championship. Of course, this is where the points are adjusted for the Pro-Am class finisher positions, and with Ben Altrier being promoted, it has left a gap at the very top. But there's also been another promotion as well. We have seen Owen Stitchbury on his debut last time out. He was provisionally assigned to the Pro-Am class, and as he was the equal of Ben Altrier for the most part, the two of them have been promoted together into the Pro class, and that has left a power vacuum, and that vacuum right now is been temporarily filled by Sam Exton, 115 points, although understand be hoping that temporary position becomes permanent at the end of today, as he's 5 points ahead of Craig Twardock, but he needs to lay down the law. Can he take control of this pack right now, whereby you do have the top 7 separated by only a grand total of 34 points? Twardock is in 2nd and had the best score of many last time out, although some would say that it was Matthew Sheraton, in fact, who scored 3 more points than him, who really was the star at the front, albeit his race 3 result not quite matching up to his 2 wins back-to-back in races 1 and 2. Michael Lee sits in 4th meanwhile, and well, on 94 points there right now. 9 is more to come, but particularly after his race 3 result at Portland, he'll feel as though the momentum is coming his way. Stuart Wyness sits in 5th there, no points secured last time out, and therefore he's got to try and make amends today. He's only 2 points ahead of Joe Coffin, who's continued to come on strong, and Nick Clibbins there with his best score of the season so far. Indeed, in round number 3, it really worked out for the iRacing esports driver, and that's why he's in 7th. He's 11 ahead of Ben Bennyworth, with a Quakemas Motorsport driver then followed up by Alan McCain, and it's Benjamin Gregory who rounds off the top 10. Outside the top 10, let's not forget about them. Round off the top 20 Your Pro-Ams, it's Matthew Jordan, who we're not expecting to be on the grid today due to personal circumstances. He's just not quite able to make this round of racing, but always well of him as far as I'm aware. And Nicole Thompson there sits behind him by a slender margin of 5 points. Andy Fox, well, last time out was definitely a better day. He enjoyed the racing last time out at Portland, no doubt about that, and hopefully we'll get to see him enjoy it even more here at Monza. Although I briefly caught up to him earlier on today, just before he was getting in the car, he was saying to me he remembered what happened in season 8 when we visited Monza. Now the fact in that infamous race number 2, if my memory serves me correctly, where it all went wrong down the start-finish straight, collecting the best part of 25 cars, and he was right in the heart of it. He really was right in the core of what happened. Well, he's hoping not to see that again today, because that was definitely an earth-shaker for many. But as he tries to shake his way up the order, well, Sam Smith is only 3 points behind, and he's ahead of Kieran Smart by a further 9. And then it's outside the top 15 for Phil McDougall there, with 5 points to his name last time out, matching the 5 he picked up from Fuji, and he's 5 clear of Adam Wilson-Weir, who has yet to really hit his stride in the racing so far for Type 2 racing. Then we do have Joshua Downey, Reece Watt, and Lewis Delmont completing the Pram top 20. But as for the AM standings, here we can see there is one name that's continued to stand at the top. It is none other than George Stone. A win in race number 3 in the class, followed up by what was the 2nd place in race number 2 and also 4th place in race number 1. When you look at it backwards right now, he's definitely seen his form continue to rise, and so are the points rising, when he's gone from 29 to 60 to 50 over the course of the 3 rounds. And therefore, whilst he had the absolute landmark set of results at Fuji, where he really dominated the day with all 3 wins, he wasn't quite able to replicate that at Portland, but he was able to score quite big. Marcel Fritsch, meanwhile, sits behind him by 16 points there, and right now the Austrian driver needing to keep his eyes on Lewis Mason, who picked up the grand score of 58 last time at Portland. And Mason is definitely continuing to build his form, and the confidence he's bringing to the table since transitioning to the Full Tilt Motorsport team. We can definitely tell right now he's in a very happy place, and in a happy place it's where you'll find all the points in your races. Mark Hughes, he's in 4th there. He drops outside the top 3, and it was not the happiest of days for him last time out. However, he did match his points almost from Fuji, and he's hoping to recreate the form we saw at Silverstone. But points giveth, points taketh, and right now in the NXTCC for Mark Hughes, his focus has also got to be on breaking away from Michael Clough, who sits only 2 points behind. Then it's going to be Adrian Fritsch, the son of Marcel Fritsch, sitting in 6th on his debut season, and right now definitely putting on some good performances. We saw him right in the thick of the fighting for podium places last time out, ahead of Nigel Stock, with Joseph Wright there sitting in 8th place on 72 points, 10 ahead of Sean Doby, and Roy Plummer completes your top 10. Outside the top 10, sitting in 11th place, you do have Fraser Ostens, who is only 3 points ahead of Andy Aldhouse, with Scott Malcolm really not yet to find his form, although he has had some moments of brilliance to be fair to him. He sat in 13th. He has been demoted from the Pram to the AM class, and well, that's due to the relative results and the pace compared to his AM and Pro-Am rivals, and therefore we do feel as though the AM class is going to be a better fit for him. And we should point out, when a driver is promoted or demoted, their points are automatically adjusted based on where they are now in terms of class and where that would have put them in the previous races. So nobody gets to take all their points from the previous races forward. Indeed, their points are reset to match up to where they would have finished, and everything is adjusted accordingly. So that makes it as fair as humanly possible as this season goes on. Now he'll find himself in a quite formidable company. Sammy Rivas sits in at 14th ahead of Stephen Fry. That's your top 15. Mark Sykes right now on 20 points is 16th. And then we do have Gabriel Yilmaz, Philip Harris, and Jack Giles round off your AM standings. As for the team's championship, well, here's your top 10. And as we can see, it's Project 26 for ATC right now, who are absolutely leading the way. In fact, you could say they're storming away with the best scores of everybody over the opening 3 rounds. Can anybody stop this new team from leading the way all the way to the end of the season? Because they carry on with this right now, I can imagine by the time we get to round 6 or 7, we're going to be calling them the favourites of the title. And it's with the first time that we've ever seen a team on their debut in this series is going to be able to take the crown. Of course, we do exclude NXTGEN Pink for season 1 because it was the debut season, but this team right now is definitely shaking the earth. Double Sim Racing, meanwhile, well, of course, trying to hold on to their championship from season 9. Well, right now, they're doing well to keep the rest of the field behind, but they've got to find some magic if they want to close down the leaders. It is 54 points between them and the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and then NXTGEN Pink sitting in 4th place. They're on 92, comfortably ahead of Full Tilt Motorsports, who are still trying to move move forward. They've got Team Big Lips, a close company, 6 points behind, ahead of NXTGEN Green, and then it's JW Motorsports ahead of NXTGEN Orange and iRacing Esports with Crest Autosport, who complete that top 10. And from the 43 points of our 10th place team, we do see 35 there for Track Scotland, who in turn are 7 ahead of Aztec Racing. It's a further 5 to Quetmass Motorsport, and then it's RA Motorsports and Missionar who complete that top 15. And to be fair, for a solo effort for Stitchbury on his debut, well, to move the team already to 14th place, he's doing quite well. And we do have CXR Project Black in 16th ahead of GBRC, with WS Racing Esports the first of 3 teams not to have any points, and the same there for NXTGEN Blue and also Lumen Motorsports. But that's how the standing after 3 rounds. Now let's talk a little bit about our host circuit for today. And well, ladies and gentlemen, it is, of course, the Autodromo Nacional Monza, the Grand Prix circuit minus its first chicane. Located near the city of Monza in the Lombardy region of Italy, northern Italy, we sit today. And as the drivers get ready to take on this very familiar circuit, well, huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just for their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track maps that are contained within it. The best part of 9 corners over its extensive length, and as the drivers roar the way down that start-finish straight, well, the first corner they'll see will be Curva Bazzano. Coming through the long right-hander, they'll make the way heavy on the brakes in towards the second chicane, known as the Regia chicane, the turns 2 and 3, before then coming out and up towards the Lesmos, the turns 4 and 5. Through the sweeping right-handers, they'll go to the lower speed corners on the circuit, and then it'll be down through the Curva del Cerro or the Cerro straight, and in towards Ascari, the fast chicane, the turns 6, 7 and 8, where it's all about the corner exit of 7, and line up a straight line through 8, then they head all the way down towards Parabolica Curve at turn number 9, go for the late apex, get the power on nice and early, and you'll be at the finish line or be ready to do it all again time and time over. But a quick reminder of the rules before we go racing. You should be used to these by now, but we'll give you a quick recap either way. This is a fixed setup series with drivers provided with a setup ahead of each and every round of racing. Now, drivers do have the option, so long as it does not rain, and therefore the circuit is not declared wet ahead of a race, drivers have the option to run an option setup, which may be run in any one of the races, but they can only run it once, and well, all the rules are on screen here. And the quick summary you have is essentially races 1 and 2, drivers are only excluded if they've previously run the setup, alternatively, based on their championship results coming into the round, alternatively, the results of the previous race. And in race number 3, it's completely open. If you haven't run the option setup in races 1 and 2, you can run it regardless of where you finished in the races or where you are in the championship. But of course, you can pause the screen if you want to make some notes. On top of that as well, in terms of the grids for these races, well, the race 1 grid is set based on results of qualifying. The race 2 grid is set based on results of race number 1. So whoever takes the victory in race 1, they start on pole for race 2, and we continue down the finishing order to set the grid for race 2. And in the race 3 grid, well, we set it as a reverse grid as we always do, but based on the results of race number 2, with a reversal position being drawn live from between 13th and 23rd. We'll cut to the commentary booth and we'll do the lottery draw. And so far, it's been 17th, 19th, and 20th. Will we see a repeat number, or will we see a different number today? Well, your guess is as good as mine, and we'll find out a bit later on. Now, each driver has 1 fast pair available in each race should they need to use it, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount or 30 minutes, but we are expecting the 11 laps to go by in approximately 20 minutes' time. Race stewarding, we do have an independent race director stewarding the races for track limit infringements and the deployment of the safety car. Hopefully, you won't get to see that, and racing incidents shall be reviewed post-round. We also do have success bars being applied to the cars on a race-by-race basis, overall and in the Pram and Am classes. And, well, we will be applying it to qualifying in race number 1 based on the championship standings prior to the round. We update it based on results of race number 1 for race 2, and we rinse and repeat for race number 3. And, well, we also see there is a newcomer success bar that is applied to drivers who are new to the grid, and I do believe it will be applied to none other than Will Kurtler, who has joined us tonight. Although, to be fair, he is a regular in this series. He has raced previously in it, so therefore he may not take the newcomer success bars, as he has already been set to the Am class, which was his previous class he was assigned to the best part of what was a season ago. So therefore, I do suspect that nobody will be running the newcomer success ballast today. Also, a quick reminder, here's all your success ballast values in a table. We're not going to dwell on this. We are going to move on, but feel free to take a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we move on there for all your success ballast values, and let's make our way back to circuit side. And as we do, well, the mist is definitely over here at Monza today, and, well, whilst there's a bit of fog, nobody's got foggy brain syndrome here. Indeed, right now, we've got start memories, and indeed, what we remember last time when we were racing here, of course, is that the mist did come down when things did go a little bit wrong in Season 8. But to be fair, those who got it right were able to come away with a huge amount of points on the night, whereas those who got caught up on the start-finish straight incident, well, they lost out quite drastically. But with only a minute and a half left in this practice session, as much as we'd like to get a word with 1 or 2 of our drivers before we do go green flag racing, I think we are going to hold hold fire on doing that for now, just for the simple reason everyone's now starting to mentally get themselves dialed in, and we don't want to provide a distraction just before they're all ready to go racing. What we will do is we'll look to the YouTube chat there, and we do say hello to none other than Elira 2007, who says no turn one, easy mode, with a smiley face there. And well, as much as it does sound easy, to be fair, making your way on around Monza minus what would be the first chicane, it makes this circuit just that little bit harder for the uninitiated, because of course what suddenly ends up happening is in these touring cars, you end up approaching Curve of Bazzano much quicker than you normally would, and that means that for these cars, as much as they've got plenty of front end grip, they are not prototype machines. They don't have a huge amount of downforce, and therefore you actually have to lift slightly going through the corner, or you've got to achieve a very specific line. And that's before you consider being in the draft of another car, as Craig Twidock gives us a very valiant demonstration now of practically pushing the Aztec racing machine along in front of him, that being the car of Matthew Sheraton, who he's pushing all the way on through. And we'll think the two of them right now experimenting bump drafting to the extreme here, or in other words, pump drafting, I would say, where in terms of the fact he's pumping the rear of, where's that Veloster, and just making sure it carries all the speed he can transfer to it. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as the clock strikes 0, well, you know what time it is. It is time for us to make our way into qualifying and see who exactly in the game of slipstream is going to come out top jumped with regards to pole position overall and in our classes. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for qualifying in round number 4 of the championship. And so, as all of our drivers get themselves set and ready to go qualifying, well, who exactly is going to be the one to put it on pole? That's what we're here to see. But as they all make their way into the cars immediately, this is going to be one of the more intriguing qualifying sessions. And understandably, it's going to be one of those situations whereby, for our drivers, being able to go quick by yourself is not going to put you on pole position. You need to work with other drivers here to be on pole. And every time we've gone qualifying here, we've seen that whatever time a driver is able to set in clear air, will use the slipstream perfectly, and you are taking a whole second off that time, if not even more. What it also means is, whilst qualifying is normally very close, and we saw an incredibly close qualifying session last time out Portland at a circuit that does not cater for slipstream, where we got to see the top 30 separated by 7/10 in qualifying, if my memory serves me correctly. We're here today at Monza, as Joseph Wright decides he wants to bolt away from the rest of the field that's all trying to stay together, and understandably everybody wants the slipstream of the car in front of them or the cars around them. Well, what we're expecting here today is those qualifying margins could be even tighter. But if somebody can find a way to get the perfect turnaround here and their rolls can't, it could be 2 to 3 attempts, and it could be an unstoppable pole lap. We do say hello there in the Facebook chat to Roger Pike and also Angie Pike there. And I do apologise, Angie, for forgetting your name earlier. I remembered Roger's, but not yours. And well, I'll commit it to memory for next time. But happy to have you both tuning in, and I hope you're both doing well. And to Alera 2007, I hope you're doing well as well. And to everybody tuning in who's a little bit shy and perhaps hasn't had the chance to say hi, well, you don't have to say hi if you don't want to. We won't pressure you here. But no, the only biting you are going to see will be on screen. It will be the biting of Brait. We're not going to be biting you in the chat at all. And don't feel free to be too shy. Feel free to say hi if you do. And we hope you're all doing well. And if you had a bit of a difficult Tuesday, well, hopefully this broadcast will turn that frown upside down and into the perfect smile. But as Andy Fox makes his way around here, well, he's in a long line of cars, the big conga line. And when you do have the best part of 40+ machines out here as well, well, it might be a big circuit. The best part of what is 3.5 miles this circuit, but understandably with 40+ touring cars around here, when you do the quick mathematics, that's not many miles per car. And of course, nobody wants to be by themselves around here. Everybody wants to be together, unless you are the machinery of none other than, I do believe, Luciano Witvoet. I think it's a driver somewhere else. I think it's none other than Jamie Dury, who's decided to go elsewhere else on the circuit, but somebody's by the lonesome on the other side of the track. But meanwhile, as Witvoet makes his way across the timing line, well, right now, one of the big contenders at the very front of the field, and he'll want to try and put himself right towards the top. As in fact, is Logan McKinsey. I finally identify who the driver is, who is all the way on the other side of the circuit, but I believe he's decided to tow his way back to the pit lane, realise that being by himself is not where you want to be. In fact, no, he's still out there. His data log is just not being picked up correctly, and what's funny being picked up, he's currently all the way at Lesmo 2, taking his time, making his way around. I suspect he's waiting for the Project 26 ATC cars, his teammates, to catch up to him. So it might be a bit of a strategic call there for him to leave the pit lane a bit late matter the most. But as all drivers head on around here, well, speaking to a few of them in the build-up to today, and what's very intriguing as well about this qualifying session, now we normally do see in qualifying, of course, because our drivers have a fixed setup, it means they have a fixed fuel load they have to take in the car, and those with ballast, how we achieve the success balance is we put extra fuel in the cars to act as extra weight. But the most important point is our drivers are not allowed to adjust the fuel load of the car, and so in qualifying, you never want to tow to the pits wherever possible. You want to have the cleanest possible qualifying session you can, because in doing so you will gradually burn the fuel out of the car. But of course, what it also means is you will gradually wear down the tyres you're running, and many were saying to me the fact that after the first couple of laps you actually start to lose time on the tyre, and it's only until you get to about lap number 8, when you've burned a lot of the fuel out of the car, that you actually start to get time back on the worn tyre with a lower fuel load. So therefore what we can expect is around the 5th or 6th lap a driver has done here, they will likely come into the pits to put a new set of tyres on, and it will be the 3rd lap after that pit stop where they will be able to go all in for pole position. But they'll be keeping it tight, of course, because the lap time around here is just shy of 2 minutes, and 15 divided by 2 plus the out lap, well, understandably that equates to the best part of 8 laps around here, because we do have overtime in qualifying. Our drivers are allowed to finish the lap they're on when the clock strikes 0, but therefore really they have the out lap plus 7 flying laps available to them. But you can suspect those 7 flying laps will be split most likely into 3 or 4 laps, where they'll be on one set of tyres and they'll come in for another set right towards the end. But the first lap times are starting to come in as we come to the end of the opening 5 minutes of qualifying. Plenty of times coming in as we do welcome to the grid, or welcome back to the grid we should say, from Aztec Racing, none other than Will Kurtler, as he roars his way in towards turn number 1 in the Audi RS3 LMS. He's decided to go for the German machinery, and well, to be fair, the oldest TCR on this grid, and indeed on iRacing, the very first TCR machine added to the simulator, my memory serves me correctly, but still a highly respectable car for the fact it is very quick on the straight and quick in those acceleration times, although it does struggle over high curves, and therefore he's going to be careful of taking the curbs at Regia too high, or indeed at the Lesmos here. But right now, Kurtler 8th fastest in Yams. We've still got plenty of drivers yet to get a time on the board, and I suspect we are going to see a shake-up in that timing tower before we do get to the end of the first half of this session, let alone entirety. But as we do say hello there to the time consumer, good evening to you, good sir, and well, I hope you're doing well, Mark, and also Alera 2007 saying, have I missed anything? And I do love the pun there in reference to the fact we do have plenty of mist here today, and well, we can promise you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, when this is a no smoking and no vaping zone around here, it is just the weather that has provided these conditions. But this happens every so often, quite low cloud today here at Monza. Of course, we are in winter, and therefore we do model the weather based on the current weather at the circuit in real life. We do take a reading from AccuWeather the day before, and that's how we set our weather conditions for the 3 races, and that's why we try to keep it as close as possible to realistic weather where we can. There's a bit of a chopping and changing there, a few cars getting offline, and everyone trying to thread the needle, but this is looking a little bit sketchy here as Luciano Witvoet decides to take to the grass in the runoff area to get out the way, but everyone right now trying to thread the way back into the long conga line. It's not easy, to be fair, and well, as I do see plenty of puns there coming with regards to the weather, including the time consumer saying, not sure, my memory is a bit foggy. Oh, goodness me, you guys keep this up right now. I can tell you one thing, I'll keep it as straight a face as I can in the Corridor 2 booth, but even you might make me crack a joke or two or a bit of a laugh so through. But meanwhile, as we do see the Crest Autosport machine of Nigel Stott, partnered with Iris Esports this season, tucking well into the draft there of the Veloster in front of him, or making the way towards that timeline. The number 9, dragging along, that's Roy Plummer, and well, right now that Elantra looking quick, but we know the Veloster this season, based on the recent iRacing balance of performance for 2026 Season 1, the Veloster has gained a new strength. It's no longer just a jack of all trades, it's also the master of the straights. At the very end of the straights, the Veloster now does have the highest top speed, albeit as he makes his way along. Right now, Nigel Stott will finally clear that Veloster, and going up the inside, well, this is going to get a little bit contentious between these two, and I think both drivers right now want to be on a flying lap, and one wants to get in the upper hand of the other, but neither driver here willing to back out, understandably. They both want to keep it together. As they come down to the braking zone, well, they'll decide not to change places here, and I think the disagreement will abide for now. But meanwhile, we're going to abide by getting on board lap with one of our drivers very shortly. But who exactly are we going to do it with, I hear you ask? Well, here's Sammy Ariba right now, coming toward the end of his first valid flying lap, hopefully. In fact, he's on an out lap right now. He's going to go on to one, but he won't have the draft, so we won't be able to give you the full experience of riding on board. But in fact, what we will do is we'll wait for the whole pack to make its way back on around to us. It's almost back already. Matthew Sheraton being one of the lead cars here as everybody right now segueing one way or the other. It definitely feels like it's the high-speed traffic jam equivalent here at Monza as they make their way onwards. And well, this circuit no stranger to shenanigans in qualifying. Indeed, you only have to look at Formula 1 visiting the Grand Prix circuit every year, and you find at the end of the qualifying session, nobody wants to do a lap until somebody else starts one, and they all queue up behind each other. But right now, Matthew Sheraton makes his way on around, and as he and many do, well, we are going to see our own Stitchbury here in his Honda Civic Type R FK8 make his way around, and let's jump on board with him for a flying lap. So making his way onwards then down towards turn number 1. As he does so, building up speed as he crosses that time line. Initial speed as he crosses the line being 128 miles an hour. But this Honda will build up more and more as he goes. He'll just be following Wayne Douglas there. And right now, all he needs to do is stay in the draft of velocity in front of him and doesn't need to do anything else. But understand me, Douglas is trying to siphon the toe of the next car as they make their way past where Rettifilio would be. No braking here, and upwards of 152 miles an hour. He'll now turn into Curva Bazzano. This is a quarter which at normal speed to these TCR cars would be quite a comfortable one, but around here these cars become very light on the rear as they make their way through. But looking to his right hand side for his brake marker and braking about 100 centimeters from corner apex all the way down here and into the crowding of what's the Regia chicane, and Stitchbury cutting on back, and as he does so here we're trying to send a message to the RS Esports car in front of him, which is I need you to get out the way. But as he pulls aside, when in breaking his way in towards Lesmo 1, braking about 50 meters from apex, no brake marker there, you have to do it based on memory, and now coming in towards turn number 5. Lesmo 2 braking at the 50 meter board there. There's definitely a board he can use. And coming out to the corner, it's now flat out all the way down Seraglio. But as he continues to be full throttle, he's getting ready to go underneath the bridge, which of course is a connector to the oval circuit, which is no longer used. It's disused as of 1970 due to safety reasons. And as he makes his way up towards Ascari, we're now looking to his right hand side for the marshal's post. That's where he'll brake, approximately 120 meters from corner apex down to third gear. And now rolling his way from left to right, back to left. And it'll be flat out here as he conquers the apex to turn number 8. And as we do see the RS Esports machine run a little bit wide, well, Stitchbury, to be fair, compromised in the middle sector, but his latter sector right now might be strong as he tucks in mind Wayne Douglas and backs off the throttle there. So Stitchbury wants to pitch in with the Douglas Motorsport machine, and well, we're going to leave him for now as he gets himself set for another lap. But 5 minutes left to go, and everybody definitely getting themselves queued up as much as possible. But as we do see Roger Pike there saying to the Facebook chat, what was said about the weather? I feel I missed something as well. Oh, goodness me, you're all really putting the weather funds together. But you're bringing sunshine to the day, no doubt about it, as we also do see the time consumer there in the YouTube chat saying, feeling a bit optimistic about the upcoming race, Paul. And well, I definitely am. I'll tell you that, Mr. Time Consumer, although right now I am stopping myself from giggling too much here at the commentary booth. But meanwhile, Lewis Mason, current provisional pole sitter in the AM class, well, he takes the park up there on the inside of the entry into turn 1, so he's not in anybody's way here right now. He's trying to crawl the car forward. What he wants to do is get some speed build. He's waiting for our car to join, but of course the fact that he's practically stationary right now, this is risky for Mason, and well, as he just waits there, he will start to build up some speed. And there's more cars coming. That's the problem now as we see a car coming up behind. And well, Mason pulls immediately off the road there. And well, that's the risk you take if you are going to park the car on the road. If a car does need to come offline, well, suddenly you are in a dangerous spot. And when he's able to take evasive action, they're able to escape it. But I do wonder if Lewis Mason, also the other car that was parked up behind him, they may get a talking to by the stewards after the qualifying session before the race as to what is perhaps dangerous behaviour. But meanwhile, Adam Delmont here currently the fastest of everybody by 2.5 tenths ahead of Wayne Douglas. And right now, the NXTGEN Racing green driver, well, I can tell you one thing, that 2 tenths gap is absolutely huge. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but when you consider that everyone is trying to get the slipstream off of each other and heading on down right now for Adam Delmont, well, being 2.5 tenths clear is a very big comfort gap when Wayne Douglas is then, what is it, 26 hundredths behind, and then it's going to be Luciano Witvoet equaling his time to the 1000th. However, because Douglas set it first, it means that Witvoet will sit behind, and if you ever want a real-life historical precedent for that, you only need to look at the 1997 Jerez Grand Prix, where we had 3 drivers all qualify on pole with the same time, and it was the driver who set it first who took that pole position, if my memory serves me correctly, of the year. But it's definitely happened in Formula 1 where 3 drivers had the exact same time, and we have had it in the past here in the NXTCC where we have had drivers with identical lap times, even for pole position. In fact, it's only happened once for pole position, if my memory serves me correctly, many a season ago, and well, definitely shows you how close this field is, albeit a much different circuit, one that was not slipstream dependent. But coming to the Pro-Am class, here's Kieran Smart right now, currently the fastest. And well, the Track Scotland driver back on the grid once again. Him and his teammate Stuart Wynis all all together here today, albeit winding us down in 30th place. Meanwhile, Smart all the way up in 5th place overall, but he is bringing a number of prams with him with regards to lap times. It's only 200s to Michael Lees, and then Jack Brown is a little bit further behind him. So therefore, that's going to be a fault, no doubt about it. Now, we should have mentioned earlier on with regards to Joe Coffin, you will have seen in the standings that he has moved to the Pro-Am class. That is confirmed. He's moved from Pro to Pro-Am. He's the 4th of our class changes. And just to remind you, Ben Altria has moved from Pro-Am to Pro. Owen Stitchby's moved from Pro-Am to Pro as well. And Scott Malcolm has gone from Pro-Am to Am. So therefore, we've not had any Ams move up to Pro-Am, but we've had one Pro-Am move down to Am, two move up to Pro. And meanwhile, we've had one Pro drop down to Pro-Am there. But those are all the class changes, and that's all the class changes we can expect for this season. But it does go a little bit wrong there for Kieran Smart. Decides to get out of the way and lets the Project 26 car go on through. Well, right now we're getting down towards the crunch point of this qualifying session. There's not too much time left here, and it looks so a lot of drivers opt in not to pit, intriguingly. So I think everyone's decided that they'd rather stay out there, make sure they're in the train and keep burning the fuel. And in the end, if they've got degraded tyres, well, the reality is that the slipstream and also lack of fuel in the car is going to offset more comfortably what will be the lack of tyre life that's left. And then again, you do only have 9 corners, although to be fair, I'm sure many would be very intrigued with the fact I say only 9 corners when they are some of the toughest corners in the world when you've got such high approach speed. But hear me out here, it's the fact you lose less time in the corners despite the tyre wear versus how much time you gain on the straight and the fuel. But as Mikey Doble launches up to 9th place, and we're on a 51.267 there, and well, right now, 9ths back on the grid after missing Portland. Well, he's got to regroup, get himself together, and I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps he used the interlude, not attending round number 3, to get himself a chance of just regrouping. So of course, Fuji definitely was not a happy day. It all went wrong in all 3 races, particularly race number 3, where he was escorted down the field very aggressively. But the number 88 driver here right now, also a 5-time champion in the NXTCC, and therefore he knows what he needs to do. He's been in difficult situations before, and many of you may remember, of course, that in the previous season, he started the season off on a nightmare start, and in the end was able to put it together for the championship right as things started to close on down. Indeed, it took him 3 rounds before he picked up his first win of the season, and well, that's how long sometimes he's been for a drought, but that's what happens in this series. But meanwhile, what's happening right now is the fact that with only 10 seconds left on the clock, we are almost at the conclusion of qualifying. And right, who will get pole? It's a mystery, says Alera 2007 in the YouTube chat. Well, that mystery is about to resolve. No, we don't have the mystery machine here, and Scooby-Doo and the gang are not going to sort it for us. We're going to see it live on screen now, as we do see Jamie Dory, currently 17th, as one driver goes straight on that. It's going to be none other than Mikey Doble gets out of the way. So Doble makes a little bit of a mistake there. Ascari steps aside immediately, so he's not going to improve from 9th place. But more drivers coming through, as we do see Dory stepping aside, gifting the toe there to the Iris Esports machine of Nick Clibbins. Adam Delmont comes along, current pole sitter on a 50.849. And absolutely all that at the front of the field. But me on the driver who leads the remaining field around was Matthew Sheraton, but he's going to pull into the pit lane. What about Gavin Gardner a little bit further back behind him? Can Gardner improve potentially? He's coming down in 16th place. And Gardner launches himself up to 9th there as he crosses the timeline. Lovely lap from him at 51.229. Wayne Douglas, meanwhile, currently 2nd fastest. He does make a personal best out of it at 50.971. It halves his gap to pole position, but it only guarantees he stays on the front row. Meanwhile, Marcel Fritsch has improved further down the order. He's going to go 34th here at best, as we see him crawling along now, cooling the car and down. Meanwhile, Joseph Wright here makes way out the final corner, but I think he's going to pull into the pit lane given the angle of the car, so he does not improve, but he finds a traffic jam there on pit entries. They all gradually tinker their way on in, and well, are there anybody else out there trying to go for a lap? Joe Doble is, as he makes one around, and right now, the number 11 driver here for Doble Sim Racing, well, he's currently 38th. He's not had much luck in this qualifying session. I suspect he hasn't really had anybody to work with, and in the end, he does improve to 32nd. He gains the best part there of 4 attempts on his previous best, but still 32nd is a long way down the order as Gavin Garner's parking up. And well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is qualifying complete. And in the end, out of our 45 cars here in the Slipstream Focus qualifying session, well, it's Adam Delmont who, as he sits there in the pit lane, well, he has taken pole position overall in Pro. He'll be joined on the front row by Wayne Douglas. In the Pro class, it is going to be Kieran Smart who takes pole position on the third row of the grid ahead of Michael Lease. And he'll Jack Brown and Reese Watt for close company on the row behind. And then in the AM class, in 19th overall, it is Lewis Mason who takes the class pole position. And you've got to go all the way back to 28th before you do get to Adrian Fritsch, who will start on second for the AMs. And it's William Kurtler, who on his debut will be starting third in the AM class, 33rd overall ahead of Nigel Stock and Marcel Fritsch. Well, ladies and gentlemen, definitely a qualifying session that was close. We did see our top 30 separated by just under a second, with Ben Gregory at the very back of the top 30 and Dillman at the very front of it. But of course, that's qualifying. The race awaits us, and that's where the points are going to be paid. But who exactly will get them made? Well, without further ado, as our drivers cool things on down, it's time to find out as we get ready to head to the grid for race number 1. And as we take an opportunity to take a quick sip of water there, because I get the feeling this is going to be an intense race, well, here's how they line up for race 1 of round number 4 of season 10 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles. Adam Delmont takes pole position for NXTGEN Green, returning to the top there, and in the end getting the job done by a temp over Wayne Douglas for NXTGEN Pink. On row number 2, it's going to be Luciano Witvoet for Project 26 for Alpha Touring Challenge, and he'll be joined on the second row of the grid by his teammate of Wojciech Swirydowicz. Then we have Kieran Smart starting 5th there, the pro and pole sitter, and he's going to be in the firm company of none other than Michael Lease, with the Track Scotland driver outpacing him by 300ths. The JW Motorsports driver starts in 6th then, ahead of none other than Jack Brown, and the NXTGEN Green driver in his Honda will be hoping to move forward quite quickly, because if not, he'll have JW Motorsports' Reese Watt right behind him alongside in 8th place. 9th is going to be Gavin Gardner. Well, late improvement in qualifying, doing him well for NXTGEN Pink ahead of Doble Sim Racing's Mikey Doble, who despite having to bail in his final lap, he was able to secure a top 10 start. And outside the top 10, 11th place is going to be Ben Bennyworth for Craig Mass Motorsport, one of his best qualifying points of the season so far. Craig Tarlock starts in 12th for TSRC Esports, ahead of Nick Clibbins, with the Irish Esports powered by Crest Autosport driver in the company of Isaac Doble in row number 7. Behind the Doble Sim Racing drive, it's going to be Adam Wilson-Weir for Type 2 Racing, looking to go from 15th in the number 4, and he'll be in the company of Alan McCain for Irish Esports powered by Crest Autosport. Jamie Dory starts 17th there, not quite the qualifying session he wanted, but to be fair for Dory, he's normally quicker in the races by comparison, and the NXTGEN Pink drive will have the sister team car from NXTGEN Orange of Andy Fox starting 18th, and Andy find himself right in the thick of things once again as he did the last time he raced here. And then to see Lewis Mason, your AM pole sitter, starting in 19th place there for Full Tilt Motorsport, and he's going to be joined on the 10th row by none other than Luke Jones for JW Motorsports, who completes your top 20. Outside the top 20, it is going to be Matthew Sheraton, 21st for Aztec Racing ahead of Owen Stitchbury for RA Motorsports, and the Welshman will be followed up by the Briton of Sam Exton for Team Big Lips, with the English driver in the company of Logan McKinsey, who starts in his lowest qualifying performance of the season so far for Project 26 for Alpha Touring Challenge. I don't think the slipstream focused nature has gone to what is his advantage, and the American driver starts 24th. He was 7 tenths down on pole, but a further almost 10th down on him was Andrew Pite for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, ahead of Lee Horn for NXTGEN Orange. Phil McDowell starts in 27th for CXR Project Black, ahead of 2nd place AM starter Adrian Fritsch, with Doris Racing Esports driver there doing well in qualifying, and the Austrian ahead of the Britons of Ben Altrier for Full Motorsport and Benjamin Gregory, the teammate of Altrier, round off your top 30. Outside the top 30, starting in at 31st, it's going to be Stuart Winus for Track Scotland, ahead of Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing. And then we come to a pack of AMs, because it is William Kurtler starting 33rd for Aztec Racing, ahead of Nigel Stock for Irish Esports powered by Crest Autosport. And then it's Marcel Fritsch for Doris Racing Esports. The anomaly, the pro-am there of none other than Carl Thompson, starts 36th for GBRC with a struggling qualifying performance, but he will be ahead there of his teammate Mark Hughes. And then round off that 19th row is George Stone for Type 2 Racing. Outside that row, then round off the top 40, it's going to be Sean Doe for ATEC Tech Racing and Joshua Downing for Type 2 Racing. And beyond 40th place, as we head towards the very back of the grid, it's going to be Fraser Austin for NXTGEN Blue, ahead of his teammate Roy Plummer. And then on row number 22, it's going to be Joseph Wright for NXTGEN Blue, ahead of iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport Stephen Fry. And last but not least, starting in 45th place, it's going to be Sammy Arriva for Type 2 Racing, bringing up the back of the field. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the field is set. All drivers absolutely itchy to go racing, and right now all sat there on the grid knowing it's not too long before we do go green flag. The lights will come very shortly, and well, without further ado, here come the lights for race number 1. So it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's Byron lights. And it's lights down, away we go here for the first race of the day at the Monza Grand Prix circuit. And as Adam Delman gets a good start, Wayne Douglas gets the better launch by comparison. And Douglas immediately now looking up the inside here, heading towards Curbazano. But as they all make their way onwards, everyone right now, jinking left, jinking right, trying to figure out where's the right place to be in this long run down towards turn number 1. And of course we go past the chicane. Nobody will be braking here. Well, hopefully nobody's going to be braking for it, because otherwise they've got lost along the way. And there's no sat nav to guide them. But Adam Delman right now side by side with Wayne Douglas. Douglas on the inside here through Curbazano. And now it's coming up to the heavy braking zone. They get ready to go onto the anchors very shortly, but which one of these two drivers are going to get ahead? Delmont's on the inside there. Douglas is trying to go all the way around the outside. Can he force it outside to inside? The answer is no, but further on back, it's 2 by 2 as they all covered down, and this will feel almost like a rolling start in some respects, albeit it's not. They're all fighting right now, as we see right at the back of the field, the big check up there of all the cars. Constantino effect in action, but a cut in the apex of where's the second part of the Regia have seen Adam Delmont drop down. He's picked up a slowdown penalty. He's had to burn it, so Douglas takes the lead with Witvoet already up into second place, and Wojciech Swirydowicz's teammate right behind. Michael Lees, he's been able to storm his way up into lead of the prime class. It's been a slow start meanwhile for Kieran Smart by comparison, who's dropped all the way back to 14th place. That's your prime pole sitter, and he's dropped all the way down here, and I think right now Kieran Smart has been absolutely mobbed at the start of the race. We're a slow start in that Elantra, and it is a very tricky car to launch compared to some of its rivals. Jamie Dory was telling us about that last season when he tried to run the Elantra for a whole season, the car that outwitted him in the end. And well, right now it seems to have caught Kieran Smart out as Adrian Fritsch rejoins. Oh, there's some incident there coming down into a Ascari. Mark Hughes has gone straight on in the Nissan Primera Tribute Audi, and well, as the GBRC driver carries on, we'll get a replay of that when we can. Sean Dobie's also been collected. There's been several cars caught up in it, also Will Curtin and Roy Plummer. There is Roy Plummer pointing in the wrong direction, but as we see multiple cars being turned around, well, they've got the entire lap before the field comes back on through, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a safety car, just for the simple reason they will be clear. But as we come towards the end of number 1, it's going to be Wayne Douglas leads ahead of Luciano Witvoet. Then we do have Wojciech Swirydowic battling here with Adam Delman. It's being pushed along by the prime leader of Michael Lees. Lees right now trying to help him along, and as they make the way on down, well, we can see there's going to be the change, and Lees really now the catalyst for change, as Gavin Garner a bit further back in 6th place is breaking away with Jack Brown following him in suit. Craig Twardock here, meanwhile, all over the back of Brown as they come through turn number 1, but as they do, you can see the understeer there with the amount of speed they're carrying, particularly now they've got the dirty air of the cars in front of them as well. That is really where that corner becomes so tricky to negotiate, but as they all go line and stern into the braking zone. Meanwhile, a bit further back, we do see what is their Isaac Doble giving way to Ben Bennyworth. Bennyworth holding him at bay for 11th place, and Doble right now trying to make sure that Kieran Smart does not find a way through. As further back, we do a bit of fighting here with Iron Stitchbury and Sam Exton. Stitchbury on the left of your picture in the battle of the two Hondas, and the Team Big Lips racing driver here will go door to door through Lesbo 1, and we can see Logan McKinsey on the back of this as we ride aboard with him. Now the Project 26 AlphaTauri Challenge driver, well, understand this has not gone right. He understeers a bit deep there at Lesbo 2. That's going to cost him so much momentum as he makes way onwards. Lee Horde's right there with him now, albeit Horde's got the proper pike and McDougall behind, so therefore that's going to give a bit of breathing room. But the next gen orange driver right now will know that if McKinsey makes another mistake like that, he'll need to pounce on it. We're going underneath the gantry bridge there, and as they come down towards what will be Ascari, well, there we can see a big look from Andrew Pike up the inside of Horde, but it's just as much a defensive lunge as it is an aggressive one, because he's trying to send a message to Phil McDougall, which is you can't come through. But out of Ascari they go, and right now they stay exactly as they were, but the fighting definitely building in this group. But Andy Fox, a bit further up the road, passes Alan McCain, who's burning the slowdown gradually. The Irish esports driver having to do so after cutting track limits at Ascari, and he's going to drop behind then none other than Lewis Mason, the AM leader, and Mason right now gaining 1 place since the start of the race as a result of that, but he's doing the right thing, and the right thing simply is make sure you don't fall back to the rest of the AM class. When he does have a comfort gap now of 13 places to Adrian Fritsch, I think he's going to feel quite safe at the moment as they make their way onto the 3rd lap. But of course, as the laps accrue, the weight of the cars starts to get a little bit lighter. Fuel comes on down, and everyone starts to feel a little bit more fighty as Wayne Douglas being pushed along by Witvoet and Delmont. The top 3 are trying to work together here, albeit 3 different machines, all in a nose-to-tail train. And Wojciech Swirydowic meanwhile trying to ride behind as we do see the lap down car now almost of Will Curtin there making his way through the camera, and then suddenly all the cars arrive at full speed before the heavy braking zone, and nobody right now wants to fight too hard, although there is some elbows out for a racing guard a bit further back. That is Jack Brown making sure that he doesn't Let's break Twildot through, and Twildot definitely has been a bit of a dark horse in the Pro-Am class so far this season, in the fact that he's shown a lot of pace, but right now the Sim Racing Collective driver knowing that he still needs to try and pick up a couple of wins in these races today if he really wants to get on top of the Pro-Am proceedings, because right now, of course, in the gap with Ben Altria being promoted, it is Sam Exton who holds onto it provisionally, but I think Twildot has got other ideas he tries to move forward. But everyone in line here, and nobody wants to break the train, but later on, that's where we'll start to see our drivers really get eager to make moves, and that's where we'll start to see the field break up into smaller size groups, such as this three-way group between McCain, Jones and Sheraton. 3 of them fighting for 10th place in the Pro-Am class, but also at 19th as a group through to 21st, and they do not want to bring Exton along for the ride, although I think Sam Exton's had a very good run into Ascari, and with the 3 in front, all Constantino off the back of each other, all Logan McKenzie, Owen Stitchby, Lee Horn and Andrew Pike are also being brought along here. Coming up towards a Parabolica curve. Well, from those drivers, we see a bit of chop and change as Andy Fox, meanwhile, finds himself here being almost pushed along by Jamie Dorey. And well, Fox right now will be happy the fact this race has gone quietly for him, in the fact he's not been involved in any major incident thus far. And well, of course, remember the last time we saw Andy Fox on the grid for a whole season in Season 8, everything that could go wrong did go wrong in the racing, to be fair. So he really was the unluckiest driver we've ever seen in the NXTCC. This season so far, since his full-time return, has seen a bit more luck come his way, although he's had his share of bad luck, but it's not been anywhere near as gratuitous. But as Adam Delmont right now swaps places with Luciano Witvoet, the Honda there being shown to be fast on the straight if it's got the slipstream, and the Audi of Witvoet meanwhile just trying to power its way on. As they get a little bit closer to Kurtler, you can see that gap to Kurtler gradually coming on down as they now romp their way back into the braking zone for Regia. 2 wide there in the fight for second and third, and Delmont right now getting his elbows out, and that's going to cause Swirydowicz to get involved. He's going to now jump up the inside of his teammate and go through Lesbo number 1. Well, Swirydowicz on the inside here, Delmont on the outside, and I think this is going to go one way fast, and it will be that Swirydowicz might be able to take second place into Lesbo 2, but Delmont really trying to block them up, and you can understand why, because what it is right now, if those Project 26 with ATC machines get ahead of him, they might start to bolt away. And well, I think Adam Delmont is now taking the focus, which is, if I can't win this race, I can give Wayne Douglas an opportunity to win this race and cost everyone behind some points. It's a little bit of a Pyrrhic way of thinking about the racing, but the logic is here in the fact that if he can hold on to second and frustrate everyone behind, he naturally, it's going to hurt the leading team and also the Drivers' Championship leaders. He's going to cost them points. He'll sacrifice some of his own, but he feels confident here he might be able to essentially back them up into each other and really force them to fight for less and less points. It's really aggressive defender essentially, where you're forcing everyone behind the guys you are holding off to fight them. You're telling everyone behind, no, we're not going any quicker until you all take the pressure off me as the pack leader. And that's what Delmont's trying to do. He's just trying to back the whole field up. He's legally allowed to do so long as he doesn't do anything such as brake checking, where you essentially put the brakes on prematurely where nobody would expect you to. And well, right now as he makes way along, Adam Delmont trying to use every trick in the book in the NXTCC in order to be able to hold on, as Wayne Douglas now goes even faster at the front of the field at a 51.860, a personal best for him. Meanwhile, back in the AM class, let's not forget about our AMs. The Pro-Ams and Pros getting a lot of screen time, but what's happening here in the third of our classes? Well, apart from Lewis Mason running away at the front of it, and Adrian Fritz still safe to a relative degree, you do have Joseph Wright right now in third place, 33rd overall, and he's got Nigel Stott, George Stone and Marcel Fritz for company, albeit he's trying to open up that gap enough to be able to feel a little bit more safe. But if you want to be safe, not have to worry about slipstream, you need to get 2 seconds clear of the next car, as otherwise there will be a distant tow, and by the time you get within 1 second, that tow is going to be amplifying very quickly. It becomes exponential. But as Stone goes side by side here with Stock, the 2 of them coming up towards the Regia chicane, we can see Marcel Fritz trying to place his bets behind what is the Type 2 racing machine, although breaking very early there, and Stock on the inside does not fight it too hard, lets it go, but George Stone has been able to gain a bit more there because Joseph Wright has now picked up a slowdown penalty. He's going to have to burn that by the time he clears the Lesbos, otherwise that will be upgraded to a drive-through penalty by the iRacing stewarding system. So right now, small mistake, but big repercussions. He's going to fall right back into this group. He may actually lose a place here coming down Seraglio, because burning slowdowns here at Monza, well, imagine if it's a half-second slowdown, it really means it's about 1.2 seconds because you lose the speed in the acceleration zones, and that is how George Stone is going to take third place there in the AM class, at least for now. Fraser Rossland's on the back of the group with Joshua Dan in the Pro-Am there, trying to disguise himself as one of the AMs as they make their way in towards Ascari, albeit the Pro-Am driver here just wants to try and move forward. But as he tries to do so, well, we need to take a look back in time to what was the big incident that occurred going through Ascari for the first time, asking, ladies and gentlemen, and well, for reference, here we go, taking a look back in time. Well, this was coming up towards Ascari, and we had multiple incidents here. First, we had Logan McKenzie having off track. He was a bit further ahead of where it all did go wrong. And in fact, no, so McKenzie was caught up in a bit of a crunch there. That was contact and under braking. I think that was Adrian Fritsch being turned sideways. What exactly happened to Adrian Fritsch? Can we get the on board with him, or at least see another camera angle there? He was the car who got turned for WS Racing Esports. So going into the braking zone here, McKenzie on his left, broke too late, tapped the rear of Owen Stitchbury's car, and that's what sent him sideways. That's why we saw him rejoin. And suddenly there's Sean Doby coming in like a razor-hot missile into the corner. But what exactly happened to Sean Doby further back? Well, he made his way up towards the braking zone to Ascari, defending to the inside there, and what we see them make the way onwards. That camera angle is not helpful at all. There was an instant further back, however, and then we see Sean Doby being catapulted into the air and collecting Mark Hughes amongst other drivers. Can we get a different view to that beyond what we just saw? I think we can. This will be alternative angle. And as Doby made his way on down, while the lower cameras picked this up, and well, instant there, Roy Plummer being caught up with other Type 2 racer machines, and in the end, we don't see what triggers it off with Doby, but we see the aftermath, and that's where he collected Hughes, and also collected the Aztec racer machine of none other, I do believe, Will Kirtland. That explains it all, but without further ado, ladies and gents, what exactly happened to Roy Plummer behind? Well, here was the Roy Plummer incident. He was rolling backwards at that time, so we need to see before that if we can, and well, I think we're not going to quite get the view of Roy Plummer. Yes, we are, in fact, and this is going to be an on board from Roy Plummer. So he was making his way onwards here on the outside, battling there with the Type 2 racing number 93, and was turned there by whatever car was inside. That was by the other Type 2 racing. That was the Elantra there that he got caught with, and both drivers coming together just like that. And I think that might have been Sammy Ariba he got caught up in contact with, and that's how it all fell apart. Well, that was your big incident that you did see, and well, since then, ladies and gentlemen, we have been relatively cool and calm so far. But as we do see Adam Delton and Wayne Douglas came back together, well, Douglas's run away has now been reeled back on in, and now it's Adam Delton trying to take the lead back. As we do say hello there to Matthew Jordan, once again in the YouTube chat, who says, let's go Next Gen Pig. He's been enjoying tuning in so far, though we do miss him, Matthew Jordan, on the grid today, and I hope you're doing well, good sir. And we also do say hello to Dylan Hunter, tuning in right now, the American driver, who of course was on the grid at the previous season, not on the grid for this season, but he definitely was a highly decorated driver in the battle for the AM Championship. And well, always happy to have Dylan here, and well, Dylan always knows that if he wants to join the grid, there's always a spot for him. Indeed, he's been one of our most loved drivers from the US of A. But as Douglas there trying to hold on, Adam Delton, Swirydowicz all together in a free line train, and Witvoet forward and back behind, and Gavin Gardner round off that top 5 at the moment, as Michael Lee still holds on to the Pro-Am lead. But slow down penalty there for Jack Brown. So Brown's been a bit cheeky with track limits to the next gen green Honda, and that's going to relegate him further down this order. And well, when they're this close, this is painful, because now he's got to find the way of making this the least painful for himself. Well, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, he comes out of Lesbo 2, he's going to have to burn that slowdown eventually. He doesn't want to. Nobody wants to burn the slowdown here. He's trying to bleed it, but the problem is right now as he heads down towards Ascari, he'll have about 30 seconds to do it, and then after that it gets upgraded to a black flag. And well, as they swap the places there, Brown does burn it now, and in the end he loses one place at least to the Great Motorsport machine of Bennyworth, and lose out to Watt. And here comes Kieran Smart, the man who took pole position in the Pro Class, gets his elbows out there to fight his way through, and he will just about squeeze on through. You can understand Brown didn't want to give anything up, but Kieran Smart says to him, you're going to have to give something up here, because that's what slowdowns do. And meanwhile, Isaac Doble now on the outside train there with Dory pushing along, and Adam Wilson Weir as well. Well, now we'll squabble in 4 positions here. We're heading towards the final third of this race, and things will now start to turn up in intensity just that little bit more between all these drivers, as of course laps are running out and tempers are starting to fray that little bit with 4 more to go. But Smart, Wilson Weir, Doble and Dory all exchange glances at one another, but of course on the straights here nobody will cut across in the column. Well, they try the best not to, because how risky it is, and that's what triggers the big high-speed impacts. Remember, right now, they are doing about 140 miles an hour already, and at those speeds, once you get a small tap towards the rear of the car, the side of the car is gone. And these touring cars, they are heavy, they are the best part of 1.3 tons. However, 1.3 tons travelling at 150 miles an hour, a small tap to it when it's trying to go to a straight line, well, you don't need to have a physics degree to understand what that's going to do to the car. It is going to make it incredibly unstable. But right now, strong and stable is the aim of the game for Adam Delton as he ducks up the inside of Wayne Douglas to take the lead back, coming through the Virginia chicane. And well, further on back, Stuart Wyness here trying to find his way on past Lee Horn. And right now looks one way then the other in the Track Scotland car. And well, a bit of a deeper shade of blue on the car. I believe that's a new livery for the team, Alternative. It's an alternative shade, albeit the way you can tell the difference between Winus and Smart, of course, is the fact that Winus has the orange secondary colour on the car, whereas, of course, Smart has the lighter green, but I do believe that's a darker shade of blue. I'm going to need to ask him about that after today, whether that's a new livery. Alternatively, they just decided to go with a different paint colour for the blue. It does look very nice on the car, albeit right now he won't be thinking about how nice the livery is, because he'll be thinking about how he can pass Lee Horn. And Andrew Platt, Ben Altria, Sam Exton, Benjamin Gregory, all still in this long queue. Gregory, of course, not quite having the qualifying session he wanted. He's only gained one place since the start, and Where's Elantra definitely struggling here today. I think Gregory as well, perhaps just not harmonising too well with the Monza circuit. It's not for everybody, this circuit, to be fair, even if we did have run the entire Grand Prix layout. Some circuits, power circuits such as this, they really do take a different stroke of vote. But as they come out of Ascari, both drives they're running very wide, but they'll get away with that. They will pick up while being off track. But then Gregory is going to make his way past Sam Exton there, who pays the price more, given his Honda is more reliant on carrying speed out the corners rather than the Elantra that can build it up a bit more. So Gregory will make the pass there, albeit a bit unconventionally, should we say. But from then, we come back up into the midst of the top 10 of the Pro-Ams here. And this is Jack Brown. He's gradually losing Wilson Weir, but he's now bringing with him Clivens, McCain, Fox and Jones. We look back from the rear of the next-gen green car. And right now, the man who does loves racing go-karts. Well, right now he does love racing TCRs of the simulator as well, but going around the outside, that is going to be Nick Clivens powering his way on past. And well, over the bumps they go. In towards Lozano. And all the way through that long right-hander right now. And well, is it going to be a Grande all time as the circuits also reverse that corner as Curva Grande? Well, the answer is going to be he's not going to get it back, because there's going to be Alan McCain up his inside. Albeit McCain in the end squeezed up onto the apex curve, and therefore he can't quite make the move happen. So McCain backing off just that little bit. But heading in towards Lesbo 1. Well, we do see Logan McKenzie at the back of this group, albeit side by side. There's these two drivers go door to door. That's going to be McKenzie and Jones there. Luke Jones in the golden machine on the outside. And McKenzie right now going as defensive as possible, but Jones is trying to take him on step for step, pound for pound. And as they come out the corner, right now, Luke Jones in definitely a very different livery car compared to what we've seen previously. But the 222 driver JW Motorsport right now still side by side in the battle with the pro driver. Neither driver wanted to give in here. And well, in towards Ascari, it's going to be even. But who exactly is going to be the braver? And well, in the end, Jones is going to go all in. McKenzie tries to outbrake him. But in the end, it's going to go the way of McKenzie. But Jones fought it every step of the way. And Logan McKenzie will take the place for now. But there's still more time. And well, 2 more laps after this one. So anything can change between them as they all jostle for position. But they have brought Sheraton, Stitchby and Whitis right in behind them. But further down the order, we come to Marcel Fridge, who chases over to Joshua Downing. And also Nigel Stock just in front there. We have seen a bit of a split, it should be pointed out, with regards to your AM class. They have started to break apart further on down that order. Not quite sure whether there has been some sort of incident that has triggered that off, if you will, beyond the open lap incident, but we have seen Adrian Fritsch, the leader in the run for second. He has now got the gap to 7 seconds over George Stone, who in turn is 4 seconds afraid of Rostons, and me on Nigel Stockett is further back. Something tells me there has been an incident between those drivers, because Joseph Wright has fallen a long way back. We are going to see if we can get a replay of that, because I think there's a story there that we need to unpick. And well, the answer to that is there was a big error from Joseph Wright, the best part of 4 laps back. But right now our leaders come to us, and that's going to be too wide. And coming in towards turns 2, 3, and we'll run on through. Wayne Douglas will take the lead back for now, as Witvoet takes a huge amount of curve there, coming out of Regier, gets away with it this time. The Audi, of course, not keen on curves, but if he's able to put the curb in the undertrail of the car between the wheels, he's able to get away with it as he gets his elbows out there. And Adam Delman not too happy about that. Rejoins and tucks it behind immediately, but you can see Adam Delman, he wanted to bite back hard there, coming in towards Lesbo 2, and then suddenly realised, hold up a second, I can't do that, it's too short of a run. So Mikey Doble now on the attack, and Mikey Doble, remember, he started in 10th place, and well, now he's found his way into 3rd here, as Miguel Wojcik Swirydowicz is trying to come on through, and Swirydowicz will see the door that Doble's creating, and say to him, mind if I come through with you? But elbows out there, Delman making sure that Swirydowicz can't quite do it as easily, and he's going to run him all the way up onto the apex of turn number 7, and then as they come through 8, right now Adam Delman refusing to give him. And he creates a line of cars behind him, although Michael Lee's the Pram leader here. Well, Delman's going to give the toe to him, because look what's going to be on the outside, of the inside at least, we should say. That is Craig Tardock, who is going to take his first sips of being the Pram leader, literally for about 30 metres. And as they come through that corner, well, right now, for what is Craig Tardock, it was a chance, but it's not quite come to full fruition as of yet. But 2 wide, 2 more laps to go, and right now these drivers are absolutely pushing on, and in fact they come across that time limit. It's now 1 to go. The white flag is out, and well, this lap is the most important one. Everyone's done their jostling for position all the way through, but now we're going to see what will be the natural conclusion here. Who's going to get it right, who's going to get it wrong, and who's going to be somewhere in between? Well, here we are then, ladies and gentlemen. 10 laps have led up to this final one. Wayne Douglas leads by 4/10 with Luciano Witvoet behind him, but further back, oh, and it's all gone to pieces there. Wojciech Swirydowicz being caught up into the barrier. A couple of other cars as well. He comes back on the circuit, and well, we've had our first major incident since the start of the race. A couple more cars into the gravel there. Jamie Dory being collected as well by Swirydowicz's car, and well, meanwhile, what was a pack of a top 10 has now been relegated to a top 4 pack with Douglas, Witvoet, Doble and Delwent together, and meanwhile, I think Michael Lees has been caught up in that. Lees has dropped a long way down. In fact, you can see him there in the rear of the picture in a wounded car. And so Michael Lees has lost out considerably, and well, Ben Bennyworth now is your leader in the Prime class here. So it's suddenly all exploded to life. We will get a replay of that after the race, but we're going to stay live for now to the very end. And Craig Dardock still trying to find his way into the Prime lead ahead of Isaac Doble. Lewis Mason is still your AM leader, but he shuffled his way up into 17th place now. He'll be happy with that, with Adrian Fritsch and George Stone a bit further back. But what exactly happened between them all? Well, everyone's going to be asking that question. But right now for Wayne Douglas, he's just trying to hold on with Witvoet close. 4 attempts is the gap. But keep in mind, of course, that the Audi right now does have a lot of success ballast in that car, whereas Douglas has very little. Although that's not doing anything to curb the enthusiasm of Witvoet as he gets closer and closer here. Now Douglas surely will go as defensive as humanly possible coming down towards Parabolica Curve, and well, he's got to, otherwise Witvoet will just dance up the inside. Well, Mikey Doble in third right now takes the race in line. Douglas goes defensive. Witvoet looking around the outside. Does he go for the switchback, or does he try to carve it all the way around? He goes to the switchback, but Douglas sees it coming, parks in the apex, and now it's going to be a drag race to the line. And well, here they come, ladies and gentlemen, to the timing line for the checkered flag, and for Wayne Douglas, it is going to be the first win of the day as he comes through to take victory in race number 1 at Monza ahead of Luciano Witvoet. Then Mikey Doe and Adam Doe will round off the top 4. Ben Bennyworth will bring on home his first Prime win of the season ahead of Craig Twardock, who's the runner-up in class. Isaac Doe takes 7th ahead of Reese Woe, completes the Prime podium. And then you need to look to Lewis Mason, who makes it 17th overall, but for him, it's the AM win with Adrian Fritsch in 24th place. And bringing home 2nd place in the AM class, and it will be George Stone who comes on home in 3rd in the AMs, 26th overall ahead of Fraser Ostens. So the Type 2 racing driver, he'll be pleased as punch in the fact he's made his way onto the podium, and well, it's a sign of things to come surely for him, as we've all got a few more drivers to see the end of this race, including Nick Clibbins, who's come to a halt there at the final quarter, so he won't be finishing this race under his own steam. And Lee Horn has been caught up in an instant. He's crawling as well. So Phil McDowell's going to take the place off him, as has Joseph Wright. There is Joseph Wright right now making his way onwards, but goodness me, we've got a bit to unpick there as to what exactly has happened, and with some big moments, no doubt about it. And it's gone wrong for some, and indeed it's gone right for others, but right now Wright makes one around in definitely a car that's not looking as pristine as it did the last time we saw it. And well, in the end, he's going to be bringing home 7th place in the AM class here when he was looking good for 3rd, so something definitely went wrong for him. And it's going to be a further 4.5 seconds back to Phil McDougall, who comes on home in 33rd place, and well, he will be ahead of Sean Doby, who crawls the line, and Doby there for A-Tech Racing will bring on home 34th. We've still got a few more drivers to finish this one, including Mark Hughes, who comes on home. He, of course, being caught up in the opening instant at Scari, and in a drag race to line, that is going to be Roy Plummer just beating Joe Doble to the finish for 36th, and Joe Doble 37th. I believe there's still the question of Lee Horn's car, albeit it's still smoking. I think Horn is trying to get to the end, but nobody's willing to give him the push, and they're all leaving him be here. And, well, I think in fact somebody is trying to help him out. Who exactly is that trying to do it? I think it is none other than Jamie Dory, but the car of Jamie Dory's, they're both smoking there. Goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, and well, it's not gone right for either driver. And as the field makes one around, I think they're trying to help out as much as they can, other drivers. Bless them for doing so. But both Jamie Dory and Lee Horn trying to get to the end of this race, and well, Lee Horn sadly being left there right at the back to crawl his own volition, and well, Jamie Dory meanwhile definitely being given the push. But as they make their way onwards, and well, that smoke is coming from Dory's car, it's going underneath Benjamin Gregory's car, not the other way round. Well, we take a look back, ladies and gentlemen, at what exactly happened going on to the final lap. So this was the big instant then as the drivers made the way through. Now, Jamie Dory was caught up in the instant eventually, but the first question mark is what exactly happened to Wojciech Swirydowicz? He made his way onwards. And well, the good news is we can pick this up with a helicopter camera, because the helicopter was flying behind the pack as they made the way onwards. Now, Swirydowicz at first has Michael Lees closing on him, brings the car over to the inside. Lees follows him. Now they weave back over, and that's following Adam Delman. Lees went to the inside here, and as he did so, got a little bit unsettled there on the road surface transition. position. That's what caused the contact with Swirydowicz, and in the end it was microscopic, the change, and Swirydowicz being collected, and Jamie Dory then came into the instant afterwards. This is what it looked like on board with Michael Leese. I believe we can get the on-board view, and well, here you see, balls out, and then suddenly the car just simply jinxed slightly to left. That's the road surface transition where they're going onto more abrasive tarmac as a runoff area, and Leese does get away with it, but understandably he's going to be looking back at that one immediately and trying to understand what on earth happened. And well, such an unfortunate instant when it was looking all good. Well, we did have a huge shunt right at the end, and it cost so many drivers plenty of places. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, that explains the big instant we saw, and with all our drivers to the finish, let's bring you those race results subject to any assured inquiries. And as we can see, Wayne Douglas was your winner in race number 1, taking the win by a 10th for NXTGEN Pink over Luciano Witvoet, with the Project 26 for AlphaTauri Challenge driver in the having to settle for second. But still, that will continue to move forward in the overall championship, and Mikey Doble will return to the grid, takes third in his first race since his break from round number 3, and therefore the Doble Sim Racing driver right now returning to the podium. He'll be very pleased with that. Adam Delwant at 4th place there for NXTGEN Green, a further 2.5 tenths behind, and we'll understand right now the number 37 driver they're in what could have been the win today, but also be very grateful for the simple fact he wasn't collected in the huge shunt at the very end. Ben Bennyworth, meanwhile, the big beneficiary of all the chaos that unfolded on the final lap, he takes the brown win for Quantum Mass Motorsport ahead of Craig Twardock, who was only a tenth behind at the line. And whilst the TSR Esports driver will be a little bit gutted in the fact he didn't take the class win, he's also got to be pleased with the fact that's a podium, and he'll make some major ground on his championship rivals. Isaac Dole took 7th place there for Doble Sim Racing. You can always count on him to be in the top 10 in races such as this, with Reese Watt round off the brand podium there in 8th place for JW Motorsports, losing out in the midpoint of the race, but was able to seize the opportunity to take third at the demise of Michael Leese. Gavin Garner took 9th place there for NXTGEN Pink ahead of Kieran Smart, who round off the top 10. The Track Scotland driver who starts on pole position for the Prime class, losing out at the start of the race, falling all the way down to the bottom end of the top 15, but recovered to what was 10th. But he's got more work to do now in race number 2. Adam Wilson-Weir completed the Prime top 5 with best rest in 11th there for Type 2 Racing, ahead of Jack Brown, with the NXTGEN Green driver behind him, but ahead of Andy Fox by the best part of a whole second. And the NXTGEN Orange driver there was ahead of Logan McKenzie and Luke Jones, who rounded off your top 15. Behind the JW Motorsports driver, it was Matthew Cheverton with Lewis Mason, your AM winner there for Full Tilt Motorsports in 17th place. All we had to do in this one was stay out of trouble, and the rest of it came to him very nicely after that pole position. And Iron Stitchby was just off in there by half a second in 18th. Stuart Winnis and Benjamin Gray completed the top 20, and behind the Full Tilt Motorsport driver in 21st place, it was Andrew Pike. The Sim Racing Collective Esports driver making some good progress in this one, 4 places gained, but there's more work to do at race number 2. Team Big Lips' Sam Exton finishing 22nd, just ahead of GBRC's Carl Thompson, and there was the further second back to the runner-up in the AM class of Adrian Fritsch there for WS Racing Esports, who after a difficult start to his race, picked things back up and made sure he finished in that second place. Michael Lees took 25th ahead of George Stone, who rounded off your AM podium there. Well done to George for Type 2 Racing. He was able to steer 5 seconds clear of Fraser Rostance for NXTGEN Blue, who in the end was able to pick up the pieces when Joseph Wright did drop the ball, it would seem, and Alan McCain took 28th, just behind him, but ahead of Marcel Fritsch and Nigel Stock. Then it was 31st for Joshua Downing for Type 2 Racing, ahead of Project 26 for AlphaTauri Challenges Wojciech Swirydowicz, who of course caught up in the lead incident on the final lap. And we saw Joseph Wright there finished just behind, albeit after an incident of his own midway through the race, losing out on the chance of third place in the AM class, but we hoping for more in race number 2. Phil McDowell took 34th ahead of Sean Doby, with Mark Hughes, Roy Plummer and Joe Doble completing the lead lap finishers, and it was a lap down to Jamie Dory and Nick Clibbins, and we also did see a lap down to Ben Altrier, Lee Horn and Will Kurtler, and then it was retirement sadly for Sammy Ariba and Stephen Fry. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was race number 1. And the good news is, we're not done yet, because we've got another 2 races to come. Another 11 laps of exciting racing action coming up in approximately 10 to 15 minutes' time. We're going to take a brief breather, we're going to take a break, and we definitely recommend, if you haven't had a chance yet to top up a liquid refreshment, you do so in the break, ladies and gentlemen, because when we come back, you're going to be first in for more racing action. We are here in the commentary booth, and we're going to leave you with a word from our title sponsor. It's none other than Doble Motorcycles. See you again in approximately 10 minutes' time. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for race number 2 of round 4 of the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship Season 10, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform, available only on PC, known as iRacing, and powered by Doble Motorcycles. Race number 1, well, what a race it was. After a qualifying session that was relatively tame, race number 1 itself was quite tame as well. Only a big instant towards the back of the field, coming down Serglo in towards Ascari. But on the final lap, well, things definitely got very much overclocked, because we suddenly saw a big instant involving Michael Lees and Wojciech Swirydowicz at the very heart of it, and unfortunately a few drives were collected further back as a result of it, but it was not quite the grand instance that we've seen of previous seasons and years here at Monza, and most of our drivers were able to steer clear of the drama. But one driver who definitely found his way, moving his way forward, was none other than Adam Delmont, although had to settle in the end for just finishing off of the podium places, and more at the expense of Mikey Doble, who was able to sneak his way in to third place. But as we get ready for our second race of the day, well, it's just good time, of course, to try and pick up a word or two with our drivers, and I do wonder if we might be able to hear from none other than your pro and winner of Ben Bennyworth. We'll just wait to see if we can get a patch through to the car with Ben. It does seem as though at the moment, at least, we may not be able to, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll see who else we might be able to get a word with, as of course we do always love to hear from our drivers wherever we possibly can. And here is Ben Bennyworth on screen right now. I think he's got his head down and absolutely focusing on trying to get the job done as best as he possibly can. But rolling his way onwards from him to some other drivers out there as well. Well, who else might we be able to get a word with? Well, I suspect we might not be able to catch a word with Michael Lees after a frustrating conclusion to his race, really being at the centre of what happened. But what we might be able to do is get a word from none other than, I wonder if we can get a word with Mikey Doble as he gets himself set ready to go once again. There's Joe Doble's car, but I wonder if we can get a patch through to the pit lane and whether we can get a quick word with Mikey. So bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. We are just going to see if we can catch a word with Mikey Doble. So as we come down to the pit lane, Mikey, have you got time for a quick word?
Oh.
Hello, Mikey, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry, I was just getting back into my sim. How are we doing?
No, not too bad, thank you. How about yourself? How was race number 1?
Yeah, it went a bit better than qualifying. I ballsed up qualifying a little bit, to be honest. Didn't take advantage of it, considering the fact that I was running no ballast this week. Yeah, I had quite a good race 1, sort of methodically picked them off one at a time. I think another couple of laps there and I might have been able to challenge for the win. But I'll take a P3 at this stage. Sets me up nicely for the rest of the evening.
Oh, 100%. Race number 2 is around the corner. What can we expect for you in this second one?
Well, we're now sitting on in P3, but obviously got a little bit more ballast now, so I'd expect a little bit more pressure from behind. But the tow is so powerful around here that I think as long as you can stay in the lead pack, then you're in with a chance to win. So yeah, I think if I can get another podium in this one and then run the option set up in race 3, so I don't have to have any ballast, then could be on for a good night.
Well, Mikey, wish you the best of luck in race number 2, and we will see you at the finish line.
Yeah, enjoy, guys.
So getting a quick word there with none other than Mikey Doble, ladies and gentlemen. And well, we just called him as he's getting back in the rig, so perfect timing. And we're talking out there the fact that he didn't quite maximise the opportunity in qualifying, given the fact he had no success ballast, but he definitely maximised his movement up the order in the race to finish third. But of course, now he knows he's got the weight, but he feels the tow completely offsets the weight. And well, I think that's definitely an astute observation there, and we've seen that already here today, in the fact that the weight does not make too much of a difference if you have got the tow of several cars in front. With 30 seconds left on the clock, we're going to leave it there in terms of catch the word from our drivers now. And so, of course, as we go to race number 3, because everyone will be getting their game faces on once again. And it's almost time to go green flag racing, ladies and gentlemen. And well, race number 1 definitely had a few surprises for us. But what exactly will be the surprises of race number 2? Well, your guess is as good as mine. But something tells me Wayne Douglas may have a bit of a challenge ahead of him if he wants to try and hold on to make it 2 wins back-to-back. And, of course, at the end of this one, we do have the prospect of our reverse grid draw for race number 3. But who exactly will take victory? Who's going to be in that reverse grid? For all that, it's about time to find out, because we make our way to the grid for race number 2, ladies and gentlemen. So as our drivers make the way onto the grid once again, this hole they'll line up for our second of 3 races here at the Monza Grand Prix circuit. It is Wayne Douglas who takes pole position. He'll be joined on the front row, the next-gen pink driver, by Luciano Witvoet. The Project 26 Alpha Challenge driver was only a 10th behind at the finish line. Could he go 1/10 further today? If not, Mikey Doe might be there to strip it from him. The double sim racing driver there having gone from 10th to 3rd. Well, by that maths, he should be well clear at the front of the field come the end of this one. Honestly, now weight in the car and the toe, that's going to reel him in and be the equaliser. But if he can find a way to stay ahead, good for him. If he can't, Adam Delmont will be looking to try and find his way past, starting 4th there for NXTGEN Green. You then have an all-pro row in row number 3 in the form of Ben Bennyworth for Quatermass Motorsport and Craig Twardock for TSRC Esports. Isaac Dole begins this one in 7th place there for Doble Sim Racing ahead of Reese Watt for JW Motorsports. And then we do have Gavin Garner starting in 9th place there for NXTGEN Pink ahead of Track Scotland's Kieran Smart. Outside the top 10, in 11th, it's going to be Adam Wilson-Weir, who made some steady progress towards the end of that one. They'll be looking to make even more progress in this one, and he's going to be on the 6th row in the company of Jack Brown, I should say. Let's get his name right. The NXTGEN Green driver there in the 133. Then it's going to be Andy Fox after a relatively quiet race. Somebody will be grateful for that, but now can he speak a little bit louder in race number 2? Well, that's going to be his game plan for NXTGEN Orange, and he'll be in the company of Logan McKinsey, who came all the way to 14th for the end of race number 1. Well, by that logic, he'll definitely be inside the top 10 at the end of this one for Project 26 for Alpha Touring Challenge. Luke Jones begins this race in none other than 15th place for JW Motorsports, ahead of Matthew Cheverton. That's your 8th row. And then on pole for the AMs, starting in 17th, it's full tilt Motorsports' Lewis Mason. And well, the British driver there, he started 19th race number 1 and was able to pick up some places at the end. The most important part was he was well clear of the rest of the AMs. Can he do it again? Owen Stitchbury for ORA Motorsports starts in 18th. The Welshman then followed up by the Scot of Stuart Wyness, and the Track Scotland driver then has Benjamin Gregory for company, completing the top 20. Behind the full tilt Motorsport driver in 21st, it's going to be Andrew Pite ahead of Sam Exton, and behind the TSRC Esports and Team Big Lips drivers, we then do have Carl Thompson for GBRC and Adrian Fritsch, the second of your AMs there for Darius Racing Esports. However, unlike race number 1, Fritsch does have plenty of close company in the AM class. The only divider is Carl Thompson starting in, well, in fact, it's Michael Lease who starts in 25th there for JW Motorsports, and the Pro-Am driver then gives way to a number of AMs, including George Stone for Type 2 Race in 26th, ahead of Fraser Rostons for NXTGEN Blue 27th. Then there's another Pro-Am in the form of Alan McCain for Irish Esports, powered by Crest Autosport in 28th, and completing your top 30. It's an all-AM 15th row with Marcel Fritsch for Darius Racing Esports ahead of Nigel Stock for Irish Esports, powered by Crest Autosport. Outside the top 30, we do have Joshua Downing for Type 2 Racing ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz. With a chaotic end to his race, the Project 26 for ATC driver now knows he's got to do it all from 32nd. That wasn't on the cards for today, and he's got the company of Joseph right behind, starting 33rd. Behind the NXTGEN Blue driver, it's Phil McDougall, but the CXR Project Black driver will have Sean Dobie for ATEC Racing and Mark Hughes behind him on row 18. From the GBRC driver, it's Roy Plummer for NXTGEN Blue and Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing. And then we'll see Jamie Dory starting 39th there for NXTGEN Pink, ahead of Nick Clemens for Irish Esports, powered by Crest Autosport. Outside the top 40, your final 3 rows, it's Ben Cheer for 40 V Motorsport ahead of Lee Horn, and NXTGEN Orange driver followed up by the Ampere of William Kurtler for Aztec Racing and Sammy Ariba for Type 2 Racing. And last but not least, 45th on the grid for Irish Esports, powered by Crystal Autosport, is Stephen Fry. Now he's got to do it all from the very back of the field. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, the grid is all set, and now they're just waiting for the lights procedure to get underway. All of our cars are in position, a long line of cars there. We're looking for very far back down the end towards what is Corbazano, but of course they'll make their way to us, and here come the lights. And so, for the second time today, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 red lights! And it's lights out. Away we go for our second 11-lap race here at Monza. And as they get away, well, Wayne Douglas there gets a good start, but Luciano Witvoet immediately matched him. In fact, the Audi on the left-hand side of your picture is already a nose ahead based on laser timing. As they head up towards turn number 1, Witvoet right now might be able to blast his way past. But as we can see there, Adam Dillon and Mikey Double queuing up behind each other as the whole field now makes its way onward towards Corbazano. Your top 8 there all together very succinctly. And now coming in towards this opening corner, well, a few drivers here trying to get those elbows out nice and early. Stuart Wyness, meanwhile, well, he makes his way very much up the inside of Sam Exton, almost sending Sam Exton to the gravel as they come down to the braking zone for turns 2 and 3. But as everyone now concentrates together a little bit above the weave in, there's contact there as the Team Big Lips car taps the rear of Wyness. He collects his teammate of none other than was Kieran Smart, and they go around, but the rest of the field carries on. And well, in the end, they've been able to avoid a big crunch there, but a couple of cars being caught out, and well, as they make the way around through what is the Lesbo 1 into Lesbo 2 complex, well, we look from the high camera here on the drone down to your lower cameras, and it's side by side between between none other than Wilson Weir and Andy Fox as Weir trying to go round the outside, but to the gravel goes Jack Brown. I think he's been elbowed out there. Something tells me that he's been in contact with another driver, and he tries to get it back together. He'll rejoin a long way down the order, but as chaos consumes them all as they roll the way down Seraglio. Well, meanwhile, we can see there a bit of progress being made from Adrian Fritsch. He's moving away from the rest of his peers, and right now up into second in the class, where he's trying to get away from the rest of them as Fraser Ostens and tries to fend off Nigel Stock, who's close behind. And meanwhile, Phil McDougall right there with Marcel Fritsch and George Stone together with him. But Stone here side by side right now with the WS Racing Esports Audi. There's elbows between the two of them. They make contact. It goes loose for Stone, and he goes spindle across the road. It's also got wrong in front, and that's a GBRC comes. That Mark Hughes collected again. I am not quite sure if it is, but Hughes takes the base of action. No, it's his teammate Carl Thompson who's been caught up with Mark Hughes right now crawling along. But I think Hughes there just trying to build up speed. I don't think he's been in too much contact, and also it's got very wrong there at Ascari. Stephen Fry's had to bits. Hughes has got front damage to the car, and well, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen a safety car. So we are under safety car right now, and well, that is a surprise there, but indeed it's caught out several drivers, and the safety car has been deployed. But as the racing is brought to a halt, indeed they're allowed to race up to the start-finish line to go on to the next lap, and as soon as that happens, as soon as they've crossed that line, they must stop racing. Well, things will calm down, and well, whether we do see our safety car being piloted by none other than Gaz Williams, well, he makes one around there in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4 and backs the field up, and now we are at a snail's pace. But as we do come to a bit of a halt in terms of our racing, we won't be adding any laps onto this race, of course. We will just be extending the length of the race in terms of the time. And well, I don't think we're going to get too dangerously close to what will be the 30-minute window for the race. Well, let's walk you through the field in terms of your top 15. There's Luciano Witvoet then, who took the lead from the start of Wayne Douglas, and therefore now holds that lead by only 7/10 ahead of Douglas. Then we have Adam Delmont in third, ahead of Mikey Dower, who fell back a little bit, but to be fair, the two Honda drivers decided to split the differences by the time they got to turn one. Craig Twardock leads in the Pram class, just ahead of Ben Beddyworth. Those two have swapped places at the very start, with eyes at double 7th ahead of Gavin Gardner. Meanwhile, Reece Watt, he's made a good start up to third in the Pram class and 9th overall, ahead of Adam Wilson Weir, who ended up in that late contact, of course, but he was able to survive it thereabouts in his battling with none other than what was some of the other machinery around him, and he's up into 10th, ahead of Logan McKinsey, who's come from 14th to 11th already, and then we do have Andy Fox behind in 12th, just ahead of Matthew Sheraton, who right now is in the final place of all those who will definitely be allowed to be in the inverted grid for race number 3. Then you're coming into the territory of people who may get inverted, including Luke Jones there in the very prominent livery, and right now tucked behind Sheraton, he's 14th. Then it's going to be Owen Stitchbury, who's going free to move to 15th, ahead of Benjamin Gregory. Adrian Fritsch, meanwhile, he's moved into the AM lead. So Lewis Mason, I don't think, survived the final incident on the opening lap, ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz, and then Kieran Smart and Jamie Dury complete that top 20. Then it's Nigel Stock, Marcel Fritsch and Alan McCain who complete your top 23. McCain right now in the last of the potential inversion positions, ahead of Phil McDougall and Fraser Ostens. That is your top 25. But whilst many of these drivers did survive, where did it go wrong for other drivers, I hear you ask? And well, here's a replay to explain, ladies and gentlemen. And it all began, of course, at none other than turn number 2 on the opening lap. So this was none other than Stuart Winus making his way on down, and this was in the brush here with the Team Big Lips car as they made the way onto the break. Sam Exton there getting slightly unsettled, and in the end collecting Winus, and he collected Kieran Smart, and it all went wrong. Can we get the on board from Exton? I think we can. Yes, we can. So as he was in the draft here, 6th gear, and we're going to see very shortly as all the field starts to check up. Now, at this point, he's not broken just yet, but the car becomes unsettled as a result. I'm not sure if he's tapped by the car behind, but that's what sent Exton on around was the unsettling of the car, and unfortunately collecting the two Scotsmen in the progress through a domino effect. We then had this big moment for Sean Doby only moments later. So this was Doby making his way into the chicane. Everyone checking up here as they made the way in, so everyone trying to be cautious. And in the end, well, Stuart White wanted to rejoin. That did not help. It narrowed the field a little bit as they came in. And Sean Doby being collected in a freeway crunch there. Bedell Trier also being caught up, and Lee Hord all coming off just as bad as none other than Doby, and Bedell Trier worse for wear. So that's what happened between them. Then we did have this big moment only moments later. And this was Jack Brown side by side battling with the number 4, and that was battling side by side with none other than Logan McKinsey. They made the way in contact to the side of Brown. That sent him all the way wide. I think he went to turn in, and then Logan McKinsey was still there and couldn't make the car tight enough and couldn't make it disappear perhaps. But the NXTGEN Green driver would argue that he was entitled to the space. But coming back on, and well, in the end rejoining, and was allowed to safely do so. Did the best possible rejoin he could there, parallel to the racing line. We then did have this big incident meanwhile, and this was perhaps the biggest one of all, and it all began with going a bit wrong for Lewis Mason. Well, This was going on through Ascari. Rear of the car completely let it go. And, well, as he came on out the corner, rear let go entirely and was then picked off by the TSRC car. And Adrian Fritsch had to take evasive action there. So Lewis Mason in the group. What exactly happened further behind? We need to see an alternative angle for that one. So Mason got unsettled by the sausage curves, but then was he touched afterwards? No, the rear right tyre hit the gravel there, and that collected the Sim Racing collective machine of Andrew Pike, which in turn then added into it what was, of course, Carl Thompson trying to take evasive action. So that explains the story. This is what it looked like on board from Andrew Pike's perspective. And you can see Mason comes loose, Stitchby reacts, and now Pike's just trying to stay with Stitchby, and he's collected by the wayward car of Lewis Mason. So the full tilt we must try to lose now. And at this point for Andrew Pike, he's trying to straighten the car to stop it rolling around the road, but unfortunately Carl Thompson in the end is a bit too late to react, and Pike can't get to stop in time. And well, that explains all the madness of the open lap, ladies and gents. But car ping-ponging around there. That was Nick Clibbins going flying through the sky. And well, Nick Clibbins here as he made his way onwards, where he was right at the back of this all, battling with Jamie Dory. And unfortunately, the Type 2 racing car comes across his way, and then, oh my good lord, straight into the side, and that was Marcel Fritsch of the car, rubber banding effectively over the barrier. And well, crunching metal like that, it was compressed, and that's what will happen. So we have addressed what happened there, and my good lord, ladies and gentlemen, what a huge shunt. And well, indeed, right now, I think for a few of our drivers here, those at the very front, well, the safety car is gradually putting away as we briefly lose Luciano Witvoet to the ether, but thankfully he comes back today. We don't want to lose him entirely, and as they all head on down now, well, the safety car has pulled off, and therefore it is to Luciano Witvoet to get ready to take his green flag racing. As he does so, bunches up the field, weaves from side to side. Of course, the safety car does have to cross the pit entry line before he's allowed to go green. And, well, he can choose when he wants to go. And he's going to go. Not quite yet, as he makes way into the parabolic curve, and as he makes way through the apex, still keeping the field there. Witvoet is waiting as long as possible to do this. He's keeping everybody guessing, and well, in the end, still waiting. And well, this has got to be the longest run towards the start-finish line that we're going to see. But he finally goes green, and we are green flag racing, ladies and gentlemen. So Luciano Witvoet gets us restarted here for what is our second race of the day, and as he was his way onwards, we are back to full pace racing. But right now, well, of course, with all the field making the way on, we had an extended safety car period, and we have had Joseph Wright into the pit lane, I think, with damage on the car that he's had to have a look at, and the team are not happy. And Nick Clemens also back in, so a couple of drivers having to make their way back into the pits. But right now, those who are out there enjoying the fight, as Mikey Doble looks up the inside here of Adam Delmont, making the way through Cobazano, and as he does so, well, Craig Twaldop behind, and then we do see Ben Bennyworth looking for a move as well. But you can see everyone scrambling for moves right now, as in the end, well, Doble thinks about it, but can't make it happen, and that's going to be, well, Twaldog up the inside there of Bennyworth, and in the end he's going to go inside to outside. A lovely move from Twaldog, and your number 200 driver takes the lead of the Pro-Am class there for TSRC. Now can he hold it? Isaac Doble looks up the inside of Bennyworth. Bennyworth right now really being knocked down the order here in an Audi that's going to be a lot heavier. It does have the best part of 32.5 kilograms of success ballast in that car. That's not going to help him whatsoever in wanting to make these places back. But further back, we look to Adrian Fritsch, the leader of the AM class, after it went wrong for Lewis Mason. Indeed, defeated by the sausages of Ascari. And right now, your number 16 driver here is leading that AM class with two drivers of different classes, Jamie Dory and Kieran Smart between him, and then Nigel Stock and Marcel Fritsch. But Adrian Fritsch would love for his dad, Marcel, to make his way to second, and then it would be a father-son, or it'd be a son-father podium at the very top there. And I do believe that is the first time we would see it in terms of a winning combination. Coming through, that's a run wide there for Fritsch. Pressure is getting to a little bit right now, it would seem, and offline there. Well, that is going to cause everyone to queue up behind him, and he can't afford mistakes like that, because it's not about the two cars behind him immediately, it's about the momentum he loses and the fact that they will all tackle to the racing line, and he will be offline here. As you can see, Jamie Dory trying to go around the outside and battle of Audi to Audi, and well, Dory will take that place, and Kieran Smart hasn't quite got enough pace to be able to get it done as well. We're coming on around, we look back to Sammy Ariba, who's side by side with Ben Altria, and right now these two side by side, and what we can see there is in the end Ariba has to back off as he tries to fight his way with the pro driver, and Sean Doby queuing in behind him. Roy Plummer further back as well, and after it all went wrong for him down towards Ascari on the open lap of race number 1, well, things are going a bit better in this one as he tucks to the back of Andrew Pint, the number 57 driver there, who came off worse for wear on the open lap, as we do see Carl Thompson and Lewis Mason here side by side, but it will be the Pro-Am driver of Thompson who is going to get on past. but as there's change a foot further back. Meanwhile, Adrian Fritsch now under pressure here from Nigel Stock as we look out the rear of the number 16, Audi. And well, here comes Stock looking up the inside for the lead of the AM class. He's going to go for it in towards Regia. And well, right now he's not going to take no for an answer, at least until he tries to go for it. Too wide they enter, too wide they exit. And as they come out, well, that is going to see Nigel Stock go out wide. And well, meanwhile, Marcel Fritsch here thinks about trying to get into the midster too. He's going to try and help his son out as much as he can. And now here comes Fritsch up the inside of Stock. Stock having to go outside. He's going to put the brakes on a little bit early. Fritsch once again, poor run through the corner, really struggling, but a bit of teamwork here. And that's going to enable Marcel Fritsch to take lead of the race. But Adrian Fritsch goes a bit deep. And here comes Stock back in here right now as Alan McCain watches this intently. And your top three of the AM class here all fighting hard. And right now you can see what Adrian was trying to do there. He was essentially trying to turn it into a rolling roadblock at Lesbo 2 in order to make sure that Stock could not find a way through. But he outbroke himself. I think he was too focused on looking towards his dad's car on the right. And now as we do see him move around the outside there, Nigel Stock tries to go for it. Brave move. And to be fair, he's going to be given the space. Fair racing between these two. But Adrian Fritsch defends. Take a lot of curb there at turn number 8. Stock goes out wide. And in the end, Adrian Fritsch now finds himself in a free wide. He's in the middle. The reverse Moses manoeuvres happening as they make their way onwards. And we can see Alan McCain immediately storms past the outside. Tries to give the toe there. And well, Fritsch comes across, taps Stock. And Stock right now is saying over his shoulder, I can't just disappear. And as they come through turn number 9, he's going to still be there. These two absolutely fighting. And 2 for now, and Adrian Fritsch runs him out the road there. Oh no, in fact, that's not. He's run out of road by Nigel Stock. So in the end, it's getting a little bit personal between these two. I think Stock giving back as good he was given there. I think Adrian Fritsch, by mistake, coming across thinking that Stock had been cleared. And perhaps his spotter said he was too wide, but he was actually 3 wide. But intense between those two. And Joe Dolby, well, just trying to pick his way up past as well. But we've been dwelling on that. And meanwhile, we've got fights at the very front of the field. This is Luciano Witvoet, your leader, ahead of Adam Delmont right now. But as they get ready to come up to us here for lap number 6, well, what we can see is just behind Mikey ahead of Wayne Douglas at least for now, with Isaac Doble being brought on. The Doble Sim Racing crew now making their way forward. They've got 2 drivers inside the top 5 at the moment. They'd ideally like to have 2 drivers on the podium if they can, albeit for Mikey Doble, of course. He's got a bit more weight to the car compared to Isaac, so therefore that's going to hurt him a little bit more, but he is ahead of Isaac right now as they head into Lesbo 2. Meanwhile, just behind him is Craig Twardot, the prime leader, and then we do look to Adam Wilson-Weir, who has managed to find his way ahead of Ben Bennyworth. So he's now making some progress. And in fact, he's made that pass on the starter's lap in the slipstream run down towards turn number 1 from what we're hearing. And Bennyworth trying to come back in now and look into the inside here. And well, your number 96 driver here, is he going to fight this Bennyworth? Because Wilson-Weir is going to outbrake him into his corner. In fact, Bennyworth backs off there and decides it's not worth it. And I think that's a sensible move from the number 96 driver. I think he's becoming aware of the fact that right now, if they want to take on Twardot, they can't afford to fight each other too hard. The only problem is Wilson-Weir, they're not having the best of runs out of Ascari. That looks very slow. Although he's picked up speed now, but the initial camera angle would suggest he was about 2 miles an hour down on what he would normally be. And Bennyworth seems to be tying himself to the back of Wilson-Weir. And I think he's playing patient, trying to give the Type 2 racing driver the benefit of the doubt. But if this continues, the gap to Twardot, Gardner, McKinsey in the next pack up the road, it has grown by 2 tenths already at the end of this lap. It may grow even more by the time they clear the start-finish line straight. But meanwhile, we can see a second back there. There's Cheverton, Fox and Watt, the next pack of prime drivers. They all want to get queued up onto the back of this where they can. So that's why they're right now, I think, going to be investing in Cheverton. I think Andy Fox will bump draft him along here rather than look for a move on the basis that it'd be more valuable to make progress as a group rather than try to stymie each other. Luke Jones, he finds himself in a 2 wide. Alongside Owen Stitchby on the inside in towards Curvazano. And we can see Jamie Dory, he's up into 17th place already. Dory, who started in 39th, is already half the deficit to the front of the field. Dory could yet finish inside the top 10 in this one. That would be one of the biggest recovery drives of the season so far. There's some gravel being kicked up there at the bottom of the camera. Jones still battling with Stitchby, but Stitchby outside to inside holds him off. And here comes Dory, looking for the switch one way then the other. As Benjamin Gregory picks up a slow down for track limits. And well, that's going to hurt him because he's got Stuart Wyness a little bit further back, but Kieran Smart immediately behind him and run the way out the corner. Well, right now, well, we can see there's Jamie Dory close to the back of Jones, but in the end, being crowded onto the back of him. And well, Gregory and Smart there for the taking as well. But back to the front of the field. Luciano Witvoet still queuing up the cars behind us. Mikey Dower has found his way on past Adam Delmont. So he's made that move happen quite recently. And now coming in towards Ascari this time. Well, we can see there Isaac Doble trying to pass Wayne Douglas. He does get up the inside of him. And well, these drivers rolling all around. Doble sim racing right now. They've got a plan. They're trying to execute it. But Logan McKinsey, as we jump on board When the number 4 driver, he's going to try and chase after Wayne Douglas here. He wants to try and help Witvoet out as best as he can. Now, he has openly admitted in past interviews, of course, that he's perhaps not quite on the pace of his teammates. However, he's here to see what he can do. And right now, for the team championship, at least, he would love to be able to get into that top 5. He'd love to be able to really get onto that podium if he can and be a bit of a nuisance to Doble Sim Racing to make sure they don't pick up all the points they're chasing in this one as we go on to lap number 8. Another 4 laps to go right now. And definitely this race, after the initial safety car that consumed 2 of our laps, well, this race has been at full pace ever since, and now making his way down that straight for McKenzie. Well, he's going to peel on out here. He's got the overspeed initially. Wayne Douglas there thinks about pulling out and then realises he can't. As meanwhile, Mikey Doe and Adam Delmont, they decide to play changing chairs, and we're on the way up towards turn number 1. It's going to be Doble defending the inside, but Delmont's going to try and go all the way round. It's a long way round, but he still will have the speed as Witvoet tries to gift the toe to both cars there in equality, and the idea being he'll get them to fight each other rather than fight him. But under braking, Delmont inside to outside, Doble outside to inside, and it's Mikey Doe in the end who makes it count. As meanwhile, here comes Isaac Doble. They're 3 wide on the exit. Can he squeeze his way in? No, he can't, because his brother in the end has to cover off the inside to make sure he's got the right to Lesbo 1. That's going to give low McKenzie here a little bit of confidence, but he's overconfident. He runs wide. Contact there with none other than Wayne Douglas. That makes them all go wide in towards Lesbo 2. And suddenly now it's still going to be Mikey Doe and Adam Delmont right to the front of this group. Delmont runs a little bit adrift. And here comes Isaac now trying to get right behind his brother, saying to Mikey, we need to go. We've got to work together on this one, and I think Mikey's going to oblige as they come on down. But you can also see there Wayne Douglas immediately trying to push Adam Delmont along as much as he can as they head up towards Ascari. And well, our leader, meanwhile, is 2.2 seconds clear now as a result of this. But it's 2 wide coming down in towards Ascari. 2 by 2 they go. And it's no! It all goes wrong. And both Mikey Doe and Adam Doe come together there for Ascari. And both into the barrier. Both cars out of the race by looks of things, or at least going a long way down the order. And well, it's a pinch. And then it turns into a nasty shove. And it's a shunt to the barrier as Isaac Doe survives that and moves up into second place. Well, the only 2 tries collected were the 2 belligerents. And now as this field continues on, well, look at this. Adam Wilson Weir jumps up into the group. Where on earth has he come from? He's absolutely launched his way through the field, and well, we have to get a replay of that and exactly how Adam Wilson Weir managed to find his way all the way into lead of the prime class, because he's just suddenly found himself into 4th place here, right in the thick of it, with Wayne Douglas and Gavin Garner behind, then Craig Toddart and Ben Bennyworth, Matthew Shepperton and Andy Fox all being brought along. Well, that's your top 10 right now, and then we've got your lonely leader of Luciano Witvoet just running away. Well, right now, nobody coming down here. Wojciech Swirydowicz and Lemph is at the back of this group, and I suspect this group is going to shuffle plenty more times before this is all said and done. But as they make the way onwards, meanwhile further back, this is Reese Watt and Kieran Smart fighting for 6th place in prime as well as the sun comes out on them with Benjamin Gregory. He's also in for the ride here at the back of it for Full Tilt Motorsport in the white and red machine, but right now can't find his way in at all as there's the big scramble from our lead group in towards turns 2 and 3. McKenzie at the front of it now, and will take it his time through the chicane. They're trying to back them all up onto each other, trying to get them all to stub their toes on one another, as they say, and well, no change for him. But meanwhile, Craig Twardot there and Wayne Douglas cyphers his way out the inside. That's going to force Twardok a little bit further back into 6th overall. Douglas defends there on the break into Lesbo 1 and Lesbo 2 as well. And well, goodness me, for Craig Twardok, that was very close there. And I think if he'd been any later on the brakes, he would have sent Douglas to the gravel, but thankfully not so. But coming up towards now Ascari, these drives all back in the line before they peel back out. Now it's going to be Gavin Gardner. He wants to try and pick off the prime driver here. He wants some bigger points as Douglas makes contact with Wilson Weir. And in the end, the Type 2 racing driver is sliding across the road. Oh my goodness, he manages to find a gap in the group. And he carries on here. He rejoins as safely as he can. And despite the fact he's got entirely on a round, he comes right back out of the back of this group. My good lord, that man deserves a medal for that as they make their way onwards. And well, the contact with Douglas is question marks over that, but meanwhile Adam Wilson Weir, well, he's passed the test of being able to give a car that's gone completely out of control back into control, and well, did so in the end and managed somehow not to collect anybody on the rejoin. Well, I don't believe it, ladies and gents, but I'll tell you one thing, if I get the chance to meet Adam in person one day, I'll be buying him a drink for that one. But as they make the way out to turn number 9, well, right now he drops down to 14th place with some damage on the car, and I think his heart might be literally coming out of his mouth right now, because that was a scary moment. But onto the penultimate lap they go, and well, let's take a look back at some of the big moments before we get to the final lap. Firstly, this was the Delmont Mikey Doble incident going in towards Ascari. Now, was there contact between the two drivers? The answer, that's very hard to discern. Now, I wonder if Mikey Doble was slightly pushed there. Can we get a look from behind Mikey Doble's car? I think we might be able to. So that was Isaac Doble behind. He falls back. Now, coming through the corner, was there a tap here? I think there was a tap from Wayne Douglas's car there. Now, that's what the camera angle suggests. Whether that's the truth of it, we're not 100% sure, but that would be aligning with what potentially happened. And then we had this, of course, for Adam Wilson Weir. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, at first, of course, coming in towards Lesbo 2, Wayne Douglas a bit further back, but he's going to get it wrong here at this corner, and that's what gives Douglas the run he needs to try and go on the attack. But now, hold on to your hats, because this is going to be one of the most spectacular moments, and, well, the time consumer saying, how on earth did Adam save that? Well, hopefully this replay may give us an idea, because coming in towards that braking zone, here they go, and onto the brakes, and in the end, not quite sure who came to who there, but Wilson Weir hits the barrier, rolling on the grass, turns it around, makes his way between himself and what is then none other than Craig Todd and Gavin Garn, and then rejoins as all the field segues its way around him, and well done to everybody for that. That is a team effort from everybody running at that time to avoid the Type 2 racing driver and to Adam Wilson Weir to get that car back under control. And I'll tell you one thing, that is definitely going to be given a round of applause by the stewards there afterwards. But meanwhile, he's got one more lap to go before he seeks his round of applause. It's Luciano Witvoet right now, comfortably ahead by 3.5 seconds. And then Isaac Doble leads the rest of the field on through. But with all the fighting that's played out, he and Logan McKenzie and now fighting for the second place spot. And for McKenzie, well, there's a bit of pride on the line here, because he needs to try and make it a 1-2 for Project 26 Alpha Touring Challenge in order to make sure that Doble Sim Racing do not land any major points. But can he beat Isaac Doble? Meanwhile, Craig Twardock, your prime leader, well, he's at the head of the next pack of the cars here with Gavin Garnett and Wayne Douglas right on his backside. And the prime leader right now will want this win, albeit he can't back off because Matthew Sheraton and Ben Bennyworth are not too far behind. They are at the back of, where's this quintet, as they head on through. But there is Doble and McKenzie. And onto the brakes right now, Logan McKenzie on the inside. Isaac Doble trying to go all the way around, but using the better brakes of the Honda there to his advantage. He will get that done. And now going up towards Lesbo 1. Well, right now he'll go defensive every step of the way as he comes back onto the racing line. Further back, Marcel Fritsch here makes his way on through the Regia chicane. He's leading in the AM class. Header Nigel Stock, Adrian Fritsch, and Fraser Rostand, who make up the top 4 of the class there, and those 4 very close together, so keeping an eye on that as well. But with all the fight that's going on, and right now no change between these guys, well, we make our way all the way back to the Isaac Doble McKenzie battle, and now Isaac Doble having to go defensive here, coming down Seraglio, and well, going absolutely onto the brakes with perfection this time he needs, and well, it's going to be around the outside that McKenzie looks, and well, lovely move into the corner for McKenzie, they touch, but coming out of the Ascari here right now, well, Isaac Doble is still on the inside. All's fair between these two drivers, and well, with the run, well, Logan McKenzie's had the better exit, and Doble tucks to the immediately knowing that Craig Todd now is becoming a threat as the slipstream becomes more and more paramount, heading towards the final quarter, but heading in towards Parabolica curve here and onto the brakes. Well, Logan McKenzie defends, Isaac Doble in the middle of the road. Oh, and there's a prang between them, and it's going to send what we Logan McKenzie all around, but meanwhile, the checker flag awaits a one man, and Luciano Witvoet will take the victory in race number 2 here, ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz, who somehow finishes second in this race. You couldn't make it up. Gavin Garner takes third ahead of Wayne Douglas, Isaac Doble 5th. Matthew Sheraton takes the prime win here in 6th ahead of Ben Bennyworth. Jamie Dorey is 8th. Andy Fox takes home the final spot on the prime podium in 9th header Owen Stitchbury, and then we do have Kieran Smart in 11th header, Adam Wilson Weir and Reese Watts will be the last of the drivers who will be guaranteed on that reverse grid in 13th place. Joe Doble takes home 14th ahead of Benjamin Gregory, and Marcel Fritsch in 18th will take his first AM win of the day here today, ahead of Nigel Stock, who takes 22nd, second in the AM class, and Adrian Fritsch will make it a double podium for the WS Racing Esports team, albeit it's not quite the 1-2, where Nigel Stock for iRacing Esports will crest all spot, threading the needle between the two. Stuart Wine is in 24th, they're just behind, and we've still got a few drivers to finish this race. Let's see them across the line, and Nick Clemens comes to the line here. He will be your last lead lap finisher in 41st place, and then we will have Joseph Wright. He's also got to finish this one, ladies and gentlemen, and he'll be coming home in 42nd as he makes his way on around. We're coming out to that final quarter where it's definitely been a race where he had to come into the pits at the end of the safety car period. I wonder if they discovered something was wrong with the car and he's going to make his way into the pit lane. It won't make any difference to his race result if he gets demoted back a lap as a result, coming into the pits at the finish line, but he will be 42nd. But as all our drivers calm down, and Luciano Witvoet, I think he's going to look back at this one and think, how on earth did I just win this race by 6 seconds? Well, the answer is everybody else behind him in the end became so embroiled in fighting each other that he was allowed to run away. And it only takes one battle to run a couple of quarters here, and suddenly the leader of the race could just walk away or the pack starts to split. We said it earlier in race number 1, and we've seen it here in race number 2. And Wojciech Swirydowicz from 32nd on this grid, coming all the way through to second in this race. You couldn't make it up. I don't believe it myself, ladies and gents. We're going all the way through the field after the disastrous end to the race number 1 and say the result that went astray and the fact that he's been able to come through. Well, right now, anything is possible at Monza, and he's definitely showing it, and that is why he's a 2-time NXTCC champion. Goodness me, I'm speechless to that one. But as everyone cools on down, and Marcel Fritsch will be celebrating that win, a very, very well-driven win, no doubt about it, although his car has got a few bumps and scrapes on it. Well, first and foremost, we are going to take a look back at what exactly happened to Craig Twardock right at the end of the race. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, for a brief trip back in time. So this was coming down into the braking zone for the final corner. Now, Logan McKenzie, and, well, there was the contact. It was Isaac Doble on the back of McKenzie there. And, well, I think exaggerated a little bit in terms of the contact, given the relative regions of the two drivers, with McKenzie being based in the US and none other than Doble being based in the UK. But still, definitely some contact, and that's what treated off. And Craig Twardock and then happened to be in the wrong place at the right time to be collected. He was on the outside, taking the safe line here to try and guarantee his prime win. But, of course, the contact happens to his right. He gets slightly collected initially, and then there's a secondary contact with McKenzie's car, and that sends him to the tyre barrier and completely sends his chance of a prime win. In race number 1, he fell just short, and in this one, he's fallen short by only what is 250 metres, and a barrier has found him instead. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's take a look back to your live circuit side pictures, and with your race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. And as we can see, race number 1 ended on a bit of drama. However, it was small. Here in race number 2, we started with drama and we ended on it, but we also had some absolutely incredible racing all contained within it. And in the end, after 11 laps of racing plus a safety car, Project 26 of ATC have made it a 1-2 with Luciano Witvoet running away to victory and Wojciech Swirydowicz coming all the way through to take second place. Behind the Polish driver, it was then Gavin Garner, the Briton for NXTGEN Pink, who returns to the podium. It's been a long time since we've seen him on the podium, but what a result from him in the number 11. And Wayne Douglas there, 4th for NXTGEN Pink, just behind his teammate. Isaac Doble took 5th there for Doble Sim Racing. Despite the contact, McKenzie was able to survive it, and therefore bring on home a finish inside the top 5, so not all doom and gloom there for the 65. Head of Matthew Cheverton, your pro and winner, who I don't think is going to believe it when he gets out the car and he's going to be told that he's taken the pro and winner, given it all seemed to be going the way of Craig Twardock. Ben Beddyworth, meanwhile, runner-up in the Pram class. The Craymas Motorsport driver making it a double podium. He'll be absolutely pleased as punch for that. Head of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink, who came all the way through from 39th to finish in 8th place. Miracles do happen. Andy Fox round off the Pram podium there. He'll be very happy with that one, given the fact that it will be one of his first podiums of the season. And the NXTGEN Orange driver ahead of Owen Stitchbury, who completed your top 10. It was a length for Kieran Smart there. Best of the rest for Track Scotland ahead of Adam Wilson-Weir for Type 2 Racing, who, how he survived that moment at Ascari, we will never know, but well done to him for doing so. And a respot there, completing your top 13. All those drivers will be in your reverse grid for the next race. But now it's on to those who may be, because in 14th it was Joe Doble with a brilliant drive from none other than 38th place to 14th, ahead of Benjamin Gregory. He rounded off your top 15 there for Full Tilt in Motorsport, and then Alan McCain took 16th just behind, but ahead of Logan McKenzie. Marcel Fritsch, winner in this one, managed to sneak his way on past both his son Adrian and also Nigel Stock, and in the WS Racing Esports drive was able to run away with the win ahead of Luke Jones and Michael Lees. Outside the top 20 in 21st, behind the two JWM Motorsport machines, it was Sam Exton, and in the end, he was ahead of Nigel Stock by only 7/10 of a second at the finish. Stock took the run-up spot there in the AM class, iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport, and in 23rd, the last of your potential eligible reverse grid drivers will be Adrian Fritsch there for WS Racing Esports for the 3rd place in the AM class. Stuart Winers just missed out there by only what was 600ths at the line, ahead of Lee Horn by 2/10, and it was Andrew Pike, Ben Trier, Will Kurtler, Fraser Ostens and George Stone who completed your top 30. Behind the Type 2 racing drive, it was Cole Thompson in 31st for GBRC, ahead of his teammate Mark Hughes. No luck coming their way so far today. And then Craig Twardock, 33rd. An absolutely heartbreaking end to this race. And indeed, I don't know how much more you can take with that one. Understandably, right now, I think the team will be leaving him alone in the interleading period. We then do see in 34th, Joshua Downing ahead of Sean Doby, with Lewis Mason, Roy Plummer, Sammy Ariba, Mikey Doble and Phil McDougall completing your top 40. And that contact between Mikey Doble and Adam Doble are really having major repercussions for both drivers. And then we did see in at 41st there, Nick Clibbins ahead of Joseph Wright, who was a lap down. It was 2 laps down to Jack Brown, 4 laps down with a retirement for Adam Delmont, and Stephen Fry in the end retiring on the lead lap. But ladies and gentlemen, that was race number 2. And as quick as that, we are through with our second race of the day. But of course, we've got one more race to come. And we do have, of course, that grand question of who exactly is going to be a pole sitter for the final race of the day. Well, without further ado, as we do make our way to the commentary booth, and good evening to you all. I hope you're all doing well. We've had 2 incredibly exciting races so far, but we've still got one more to come. And of course, it is now time for the reverse grid draw. For the uninitiated, here is the Next Gen Racing Lottery Bowl, provided to us, of course, by none other than Sam Cases UK. I'm going to very shortly close my eyes, shuffle the balls on around. The balls are numbered between 6 and 12. We draw 2 out of the bowl, we add them together, and that's exactly where we reverse the grid from. So without further ado, let's get on with the reverse grid draw. And that's the shuffle for the first ball. And our first ball of the evening, it is going to be a first appearance of the season for the number 6. It makes its way on, so this is going to be a relatively short reverse grid, but what number is going to join it? Well, let's find out. We do another shuffle, and we draw our second and final ball out of the bowl. And to join the number 6 in its journeys today, it is going to be a second appearance of the season for the number 11. So it's a top 17 reverse grid, ladies and gentlemen. And that means Logan McKinsey. It may have all ended up going wrong at the end of race number 2, but the Project 26 ATC driver will start on pole for the final race of the day. So some good luck has finally come his way, and he'll be joined on that front row by your brand pole sitter of Alan McCain. And Marcel Fritsch just missing out there, the AM winner from race number 2, of being able to start on pole, given his 18th place finish in race 2 only months ago. With that, we're going to leave it be for a brief moment. We're going to take a breather, and we'll be back in approximately 5 to 10 minutes time for the build-up to race number 3. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you very shortly. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for one final time today. Well, it's been 2 races that have been absolutely incredible, no doubt about it. And whilst perhaps we've had some big dramatic moments, we've also seen some incredibly fine racing action, and also some incredibly heroic moments as well. And, well, as our drivers make their way around and get themselves warmed up for one final time, well, who exactly can we get a quick word with only 4 minutes before they do head to the grid? Well, I think we all want to hear from one driver in particular, ladies and gentlemen. It's this man, Adam Wilson-Weir. And, well, let's see if we can get a patch through to the car, because we need to understand how on earth he managed to survive that big moment only a few laps ago. So we look to the onboard, and let's see if we can get the patch through to him, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with us as we get the patch through to Adam's car. Adam, have you got time for a quick chat?
I do indeed. How are you?
All good, thank you. But more importantly, Adam, question from everybody. How are you doing, and how on earth did you avoid getting caught up with any other cars at Ascari in that previous race?
I don't know. I no idea. I just close my eyes and hope for the best.
Oh, goodness me. Well, it was very good car control, to be fair. And up until that point as well, really enjoying a great race in the Pram class. I mean, you've got a lot of pace here today.
I mean, it's not really a technical track. It's mainly just keeping in the toe, you know. There's not really much to it. Everyone knows Monza, so... I mean, I prefer the technical stuff, but... I mean, I'm having good fun, so that's the main thing.
Oh, fair play. Having good fun. And, of course, we now have a top 17 reverse grid for our final race today. What can we expect from you in this one?
So what position would I be in then? Because I've actually no idea.
As we double check here, you would be starting in... You finished 12th in the previous race, so that's going to put you in, I want to say, 6th for our final race today.
Okay, well, hopefully I can keep it clean, and we'll just see how the race goes. Hopefully there's not too much argy-bargy at the front, but we'll just have to wait and see.
All fair play. Well, Adam, we'll leave it there. Good luck for race number 3, and we'll see you at the finish line.
Thank you, Paul. All the best.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Adam Wilson-Weir. And I can tell you one thing, he's got such a jolly spirit to him, has he not? Even though he's probably been in one of the scariest moments we've ever seen in the NXTCC in a long time, well, still, he's got his smile on his face and getting himself set. And having to ask us there where exactly he started for race number 3, well, I don't think he's added up the numbers. I don't think anybody is, to be fair. And also talking about the fact that whilst he has been putting on a good turn of pace today, it really has been one of those races whereby, or indeed one of those rounds where it's all about the slipstream and timing it right. And perhaps he prefers the technical circuit, but he's definitely going well here. As we do look to Alan McCain coming across the line, can we get a quick word from anybody else just before we go racing? And, well, I wonder if we might be able to catch a word with, I was going to say with Matthew Sheraton, unfortunately he's not available for a quick word, so therefore, well, I wonder if anybody else has some time for a quick chat. Well, with a minute left on the clock, we are seeing who we can get a patch through to, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, you know who we might be able to get a quick word with? None other than Jack Brown, is coming down in the pit lane. Albeit, is his car actually there at the moment to get the patch through to him? And the answer is no. I don't think we can catch Brown at the moment. So therefore, we might have to leave Jack. We'll try and catch him another time. So I think we might have to leave it there with a word for our drivers. But still, always good to hear from one or two of them ahead of each and every race. But also understand they want to get their heads down and focus on what racing they can. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, a top 17 reverse grid. It does mean, of course, that it's now going to be one of those races whereby those who have not run the option setup, they'll definitely be forced to run it in this race. Otherwise, they will not be complying with the rules. And also, this is one of those races whereby some of the fastest drivers are starting further back, and it's a golden opportunity for some of the slower drivers to try and pick up some big points. But as always, there are always outliers. Luke Jones is one of them. He'll be starting towards the front of the field, hoping he can pull off some magic here. But who exactly is going to have a magical end to their time in Monza? Well, let's find out, because it's time to head to the grid and see how they all line up for race 3 of 3. And so as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this all they'll line up for the final race of the day. As a result of the top 17 inverted grid, the second time we've seen 17 drawn from the bowl this season, Logan McKenzie takes pole position for Project 26 of ATC. It didn't go right in race number 2, but he has a chance to make amends, and he'll be joined on that front row by the prime pole setter of Alan McCain for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport. On row number 2, it's going to be Benjamin Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport ahead of Joe Doble, who's campaigning through the field in race number 2, has earned him a great chance at an overall win in this one. The double sim racing driver will have the company behind him of Reswap for JW Motorsports and Type 2 Racing's Adam Wilson-Weir, who starts 6th. We then do have Kieran Smart in 7th there for Track Scotland ahead of Owen Stitchbury. The RA Motorsports driver has definitely been looking good so far today, but what good could he put together from 8th on the grid? The Welshman with the company of Andy Fox for NXTGEN Orange and Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pig, who'll be completing that top 10. Outside the top 10, in 11th, it's Ben Bennyworth there. He's definitely come on strong over the course of the day, but fell to 2nd right at the end in the Prime class in race number 2, and he'll be joined on that 6th row by the winner of the class in race 2, Matthew Sheraton for Aztec Racing. And then do have Isaac Double starting 13th for Double Sim Racing ahead of NextGen Pink's Wayne Douglas. And then we will see in 15th place Garan Gardner for NextGen Pink, ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz for Project 26 for ATC. Luciano Witvoet starts 17th in this one for Project 26 for ATC, and he completes the inversion there after the incredible end to the race. That was a 1-2 in completely different circumstances of both drivers, but can they somehow make it another 1-2 in this one? Well, it's going to be a tall order. However, what may not be as tall of an order is Marcel Fritz trying to make it back-to-back and wins. He starts 18th for WS Racing Esports, and he's got some clearance to the rest of the Yam field because behind him is an all-prime row number 10. It consists of Luke Jones for JW Motorsports and another Michael Lees for JW Motorsports as well. The two teammates together, and outside the top 20 we have Sam Exton in 21st ahead of none other than Nigel Stock, the Team Big Lips driver after a great start to his day. Well, of course it has got a bit backwards and he's got to try and move forwards, whereas Nigel Stock is wondering to himself, what is it going to take for me to win an AM race today? And well, the iRacing Esports driver powered by Crest Autosports got to find his way past Marcel Fritsch, but he will have the company of Adrian Fritsch just behind him, starting 23rd for WS Racing Esports, and then we will see in 24th Stuart Winers for Track Scotland. Lee Horn, 25th for NextGen Orange, is joined on the 13th row by Andrew Fight for TSRC, and it'll be Ben Altrier for the Full Tilt team in 27th ahead of William Kurtler for Aztec Racing. Kurtler definitely had a good end to his race number 2. He's in 4th in the class ahead of Fraser Rostance and George Stone, 2 AMs behind him there for NextGen Blue and Type 2 Racing. And outside the top 30, 31st, it's going to be Carl Thompson there for GBRC ahead of his teammate Mark Hughes. They'll be hoping they can just get to the end of this one without incident, let alone bringing home a big result. Meanwhile, for Craig Twardot, the TSRC Esports driver, well, I think he's had a chance to cool down after what was that heartbreaking end to his race 2, and now he's all ready to go once again in the 200. Ahead of Joshua Downing for Type 2 Racing. Then on row 18, it's Sean Doe for ATEC Racing ahead of Lewis Mason for Full Tilt Motorsport, with Roy Plum for NextGen Blue and Sammy Ariba for Type 2 Racing on row number 19. And completed that top 20, Mikey Dole for Double Sim Racing and Phil McDougall, I should say, for CXR Project Black. Getting ahead of myself there and conglomerated 2 together. But meanwhile, on the final full row of the grid, only 42 cars making it to the grid for this one, ladies and gents. I think some damaged cars, unfortunately, not being repairable by the time we're going green. Nick Clemens there, 41st for iRacing Esports powered by Crystal Autosport, and Joseph Wright there will be starting in 42nd place for NextGen Blue. So that is the field. They're all set. They're all itching to go. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as all of our drivers sit on the grid, we're only moments away from going green flag racing for the final time today. As everyone gets comfortable, well, the fog has cleared, the mist has gone, so therefore we've got a much better view of the circuit this time around. And well, here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. Here come the lights. It's going to be 1, it's going to be 2, it's going to be 3, it's going to be 4, it's going to be 5 lights. And it's lights out, away we go for the final time today here in Italy as Logan McKenzie gets a good start. Alan McCain, meanwhile, not as quick on the draw here as they build up speed. But remember the fact that right now it's not about who's at the very front, it's about the toe for the drivers behind. Benjamin Gregory there immediately trying to move forward, but he will be side by side with McCain, as McKenzie, in fact, has the best run of them all. And right now, in fact, he seems to have bolted away, whereas everybody else seems to be going too wide as they come in towards Curva Grande. And well, as we see Joe Doble there, he's trying to make a bit of a head start. How it's not going to work out. He's going to hold on to 4th for now. As further back, Wayne Douglas here, definitely at the epicenter of a few incidents in race number 2. Was to come down into the braking zone here for Regia for the first time. All the drivers coming on in, and as they all sweep the way on through. Well, who's going to make some progress, who's not? Car going sideways. Who on earth's that being kicked on around? Multiple cars being collected, and right at the centre of it is none other than Fraser Rostance, I do believe. And Rostance being turned to the grass and collecting several cars, including Stuart Widis. We're going to get a replay of that when we can. But that's going to put a fork in the field, no doubt about it. I wonder if that's going to bring out the safety car. car potentially. We'll have to wait and see. But meanwhile, as Jamie Dory has gained some ground already, he's on the back of Owen Stitch, but he has also moved up the road. And right now the fight is still continuing as Isaac Doble. Well, he's in 12th place ahead of Luciano Witvoet and Ben Bennyworth behind. Bennyworth has lost out a little bit since the start, but I suspect he may have been hindered a little bit by what happened there under braking and perhaps just wanted to survive it. Right now coming up towards Ascari here, 2 wide between Cheverton and Whitford, and in the end there'll be 2 wide all the way through Ascari. Cold tyres this first time around. Car propelled out there. Who on earth's gone wide? That is Adam Wilson-Weir who's gone through into the barrier there for Type 2, and it's all gone wrong there for the man who we only spoke to moments ago, and he was hoping for a better race, and well, unfortunately it's gone an even worse race now. And well, as he gradually brings himself back together, that car is definitely going nowhere fast. But coming out of the final corner, Logan McKenzie has already broken away to the tune of 1.4 seconds, and he will be praying that there has not been an incident involved in the safety car. But the safety car has been deployed, ladies and gentlemen. It is leaving the pit lane, and therefore this is going to curb his momentum. So as quick as that for Logan McKenzie right now, things do come to a halt, and well, was looking to be a runaway start. He's going to have to do it all over again in short order. But after one lap, it is Logan McKenzie who leads ahead of prime leader Benjamin Gregory. He stuck his way into lead of the class ahead of Joe Doble, who's 3rd. Then we do have Alan McCain in 4th ahead of Kieran Smart. Then it's Andy Fox in 6th ahead of Isaac Doble, with Reese Watt in 8th. And then we do have Jamie Dory and Owen Stitch completing the top 10. And it's going to be Luciano Witvoet in 11th place, just ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz, with Matthew Cheverton 13th. And it's Ben Bennyworth, Gavin Gardner, Wayne Douglas and Luke Jones bringing you down to 17th place, with your AM leader there, Marcel Fritsch, holding on to his lead. He's still where he started in 18th, ahead of Andrew Pike, with Adrian Fritsch there, have moved ahead of Nigel Stock in the opening stages as they all check up here. And well, Nigel Stock right now separated from Fritsch by Patria, and that's your top 22. As they all calm down and fall into line, and all the drivers right now hoping that the safety car won't be out for too long here, as they don't want to lose too much tyre temperature. But let's take a look back at what exactly happened right at the start of the race. So this was the big crunch coming up into what was the Regia chicane. We're looking at Sammy Ariba here, and I wonder, well, he missed his braking zone and had to take the escape as everyone checked up, but he was not at the heart of it, but by hitting the wall there, he was able actually to burn off all his momentum, and well done to him for doing so. But I think that Elantra definitely picked up a lot of damage in doing so, and he has had to come into the pit lane and get it repaired. But what happened in front? Craig Dardock as well got caught up in it all, albeit he was further back, and well, Sammy Ariba was behind him. So Twardock in the end. Oh, there was contact with Fraser. Roston's under braking, and that's what set off the chain reaction. So Twardock right now found himself in the incident there, and this was the on-board from Twardock's perspective. And he made his way along, so Rostons is going to come onto the brakes very shortly, and Twardock thought he still had a little bit of meterage to go, but unfortunately the two coming together sent him on a careening path, and well, that all went wrong for him. Meanwhile, for Fraser Rostons, this is what it looked like on board from his car, as we do come back to the racing, ladies and gents. But I do believe we're starting on a slight technical hitch. Here we go, and we'll see him under the brakes, and well, in the end, a car being collected there, and well, he just absolutely came into the scene, the instant, like a bowling ball, if you will, and well, disaster for him. Meanwhile, this was Sam Exton's perspective as he came on down, and what did it look like from Exton's view? Well, he would have been okay, and then suddenly he's going to get a big knock on the back very shortly. There it is, and it's going to send him all the way round, and well, that's what propelled him round as he was looking to try and make some steady progress. So that was the big incident as we come back to your trackside pictures. But as our drivers make the way around, I think we are still behind the safety car. Yes, we are. So that does mean we get a little bit longer here to understand what exactly has happened. And well, as these drivers come through, well, we also need to take a look back at what exactly happened towards the end of the lap for Adam Wilson-Weir. And here's a replay of that. So this was Adam Wilson-Weir batting side by side with the number 32, and well, a tap to the side between the two of them, a rejoin afterwards, and that is what sent the Type 2 racing driver to the barrier. That was the 32 of Reese Watt. Now, from Reese Watt's perspective, I presume he'll have a story of his own for this one. This was the on-board looking down over Wilson-Weir's car. And the initial contact there, and then Sonny's going to get a knock to the side, and that's what sends him on around, and the car in absolute pieces. Meanwhile, for Reese Watt, this is what it looked like on board from his perspective, and going down to that braking zone here. Well, he's on the outside, initial tap, that's going to send him out, and he's going to rejoin here over the sausage curb. Dangerous rejoin, but to be fair, he's got nowhere else to go, and understandably at that point, well, the JW Motorsport driver making haste, and unfortunately hanging with Adam Wilson-Weir, and I suspect both of the drivers will be called to the stewards' room after the race. But there was also this for Phil McDougall and Nick Clemens. Now, we didn't catch this. This was further down the order. Well, the two coming together there. My good lord, on the straight as well. Well, it looks like one coming across the other, and in the end, both cars ricocheted off the barriers, and the whole field behind having to segue the way through the carnage. Mado not happy at all about that one, and in the end, Nick Clemens rolling back on the road. I think at that point, it was really the momentum of the car, and well, thankfully, nobody else caught up by it. But that explains what happened there, ladies and gentlemen. And well, we are back to your live circuit side pictures, and as we do come back, we're not long away from resuming all the racing here, because we are on to lap number 3. We have now spending 2 laps behind the safety car in this race, and I suspect given most of the field is back together at this point, well, come the end of this lap, the safety car will pull away, and it will be to Logan McKenzie to get us restarted for the final, or the final 8 laps of racing today. As Logan McKenzie makes way onwards, of course, keep in mind that after this round, we will have our endurance race round in 2 weeks' time at Bathurst, and will that be a completely different complexion? That will be an absolutely huge 1-hour race, which adds all the racing distance together, and there'll be a lot of strategy involved in that one. So therefore, this is going to be the last of the sprint races for a little while, and we'll return to the sprint races in round number 6 in a month's time. But as McKenzie follows the safety car as close as humanly possible here, he wants to get going. You can understand it right now, and by staying that close, I think you say to the safety car driver, are we good to go? Because if so, I need you to pull away. And well, it does. And as the safety car starts peeling off, well, McKenzie gets himself ready to go. And well, will he wait until the run at the timeline to go, or will he go early? And the answer is going to be McKenzie does go early, makes way out of Parabolica Curve, and he does so. We are back up to green flag racing conditions, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go as he makes his way onwards, and as he does so, well, we are racing once more. And remember, they cannot overtake until they get to the start-finish line, and Logan McKenzie right now leads them on to lap number 4. We're making his way on down. Benjamin Gregory, the prime leaders, had a bit of a slow start. Joe Doble right behind him, but they have put a second already to Alan McCann. Can they make the break here early on? As Jamie Dory immediately now going into the 2 wide here of Reese Watt, Luciano Witvoet, and Orion Stitchbury. You can see it's 2 by 2 by 2 as they come. And Dory right now trying to outdrag Watt just about. He'll pick up the distant toe there off of the back of Isaac Doble's car, but now on the outside, as that's going to be a trip to the grass there for Stitchbury. It's onto the gravel. Does he survive it? He does. He brings it back on very carefully indeed, and thankfully does not come creeping back across the road. So therefore, everyone comes down to the braking zone, and that's a difficult rejoin for him, but he's able to get himself back on. As meanwhile, Andy Fox has had drama. Fox has dropped down, and that's not worked out at all. In fact, we can't even see him on the camera, so he's gone underneath the angle of the camera, but Andy Fox falls down the order. There he is rejoining, and he's missing half the rear of the car now. Well, not quite sure where that's gone, but if anybody has seen it, I'm sure if you take it along to Andy in the pit lane afterwards, he may give a signature to some of the bodywork of the car. But as he rejoins, he drops all the way down to 28th place, but there's much more to that than just simply he's ended up dropping down the field. I think he's been propelled to a barrier, but meanwhile from him, we'll have to wait and find out shortly. We reserve judgment until we get a replay. Well, meanwhile, Michael Lees here, he's got a lot of work to do, as and Wilson Weir. Both these drivers right now, they've got plenty of pace here today at Monza, but of course things have not worked out whatsoever, and it really has been a bit of a gut-wrenching race for both of them, and they'll be hoping that it can be better towards the end. And keep in mind, of course, that if we do have another major incident, there's no stopping another safety car potentially being called, but that in itself will cost race time, and that will be on the minds of these drivers, as we do see Joe Doble right now looking up the inside of Benjamin Gregory, trying to take that second place back off the prime leader, and Alan McCain will be brought comfortably into this as we look back for the rear of your number 11. So Doble's going to get this done, no doubt about it, but now can he hold on for a little bit longer as they power their way down the straight? Logan McKenzie 1.2 seconds clear at this point, and now Doble's got a problem, which is, does he fight the guy behind him as he gets the bump draft there? And Benjamin Gregory, who knocks the camera off the rear of the car, and Alan McCain meanwhile tries to bump draft along as well, although he actually thinks they'll pull it about the toe, and the RS Esports powered by Crystal Autosport driver here opted to go up the inside, but he wants to take the fight to the prime leader, so he wants to go battling. Meanwhile, Gregory and Doe want to stay with McKenzie, and Kieran Smart meanwhile, he's a bit too far back to get involved right now, but the third place prime driver here will be looking at this with eagle eyes. I'm thinking, right, when's my chance to get involved, as Isaac Doe is not too far behind. Further back, we do see coming onto the gantry none other than Luciano Witvoet, who leads a long line of cars along with him, and well, the Swirydowicz, Dory, Bennyworth and Douglas named the first 5 of them, albeit we've also got a bit of a move here. Swirydowicz looking up the inside. He's going to take that place off of Watt and now join up with his teammate Witvoet, but they've still got more places to gain. Further back in the AM class, well, here in 19th is Marcel Fritsch. He has Adrian Fritsch behind him, and then Nigel Stocks. These 3, well, excluding race number 1, these 3 really have been the big stars of the AM class. Lewis Mason, the start of race number 1, of course, with that win. Speaking of Lewis Mason, he's on the back of William Kurtler, previous teammate, of course, in last season, But this season, with Mason moving to Full Tilt Motorsport away from Aztec Racing, well, now they are rivals, albeit I'm sure they're still friends off the road. But swap of places there, and Cutler immediately wanting to work with Mason, essentially saying to him, look, there's no point fighting you, let me stay with you instead. It's a smart drive between the two, and going down through Ascari there. Lewis Mason trying to move onwards here as he goes chasing after Carl Thompson. Also, we're on the back here of none other than Rye Plummer. Plummer a bit out of sorts and out of line, and therefore that's going to cost them both time. Well, coming out to the corner there, Plummer comes across, but Wilson Weir will be on that outside. He's going to go for the racing line here. Ready to go too wide in towards Parabolica Curve, but Plummer right now definitely not wanting to back off right now, and this is going to cost Wilson Weir a bit more time into that braking zone. But to be fair, Plummer does not have to give way to a prime driver, and I think he wants to try and keep Wilson Weir between him and Fraser Rostance behind him, as both drivers right now trying to pick up some points in the AM class, but Wilson Weir goes around the outside. As they power the way down the start-finish straight, looking back to the AM lead group. Well, Fritsch still 1.3 seconds clear of Adrian Fritsch, as meanwhile Nigel Stock looking to make it 3 wide there, and Lee Horn comes on to the side of the group, and well, that was definitely a bit of a hairy and scary moment. And Mikey Doble also here as well. So Sonny, second and third in the AM class. They're dealing with 2 big pros as well. And will think to himself, okay, we've got to be careful about this. They come down in towards Regia, and well, it's going to be a drift sideways there for Adrian Fritsch. He loses the rear of the car. Does he keep it together in the gravel? He does. He points it straight, but he's going to lose places. Lewis Mason takes third place in the AM class off of him, and Adrian Fritsch drops down to 25th place. And 9, he's got a lot more work to do now. He's added to his workload, as Lewis Mason, meanwhile, has seen his workload slightly shrunk by comparison. But back to the prime lead battle. Gregory, McCain, Smart. It's still Benjamin Gregory hold on, but Joe Dole has cleared them. And Isaac Dole there takes a peek, looking up the inside of all 3 of them there in towards Ascari. That's to see exactly what he's dealing with, rather than trying to do anything dangerous or adventurous. And well, as he comes towards the end of lap number 6, now for Benjamin Gregory, well, he knows that with the 2 leaders putting away, it's all going to be about working smart in the draft with his rivals, and he's got to pick the right time to be ahead and the right time to be behind. But he's going to play this game very strategically at this point, as Isaac Doble tries to force his way through to go for third place overall, and with it, of course, tries to make it a double podium for Doble Sim Racing with Joe Doble. But Pro-Am lead group now 3 wide coming out the final corner here, and well, this is not the final lap either. We are on to lap number 7. They've still got another 5 to go, and well, they're going to have to be careful, the leaders, because I do believe they've been told not to drive beyond the white line there, going down the start finish straight to go towards the pit wall. I do believe they do that too often, they will be subject to post-race penalties. So therefore, McKinsey and Doble, though, may get away with it once, but they won't be able to plead ignorance twice or thrice, and they've got to be very mindful of that. As meanwhile, Alan McCain being pushed through there by what is none other than Isaac Doble, and he's going to take lead of the prime class. They come back to us as they power the way on. Well, there's your 2 leaders, then there's the quartet, and into that braking zone. Alan McCain now being cleared by Isaac Doble, and Kieran Smart and Benjamin Gregory, they fall to the back of this, but Gregory's lost out the most there, and Smart driving there from Isaac Doble to pick the right driver to work with, and he decides to go McCain on the outside there, knowing that McCain could carry the speed that the others could not on the inside through Curva Bazzano. Very tactical, but a very smart call with that. But with that, we take a look back in time to lap number 4, and what exactly happened to Andy Fox. So this was Fox making his way down to the braking zone, and as he did so side by side here, and well, what exactly is going? Oh, that was a big knock to the rear of the car. That was Jamie Dory coming in hot, and in the end, Andy Fox rolling backwards, and well, make his way into the barrier there. Well, a tiny tap, but suddenly the car fell apart as if it was made of glass there, and well, that was a bit of a surprise for number 21 driver, so not as extreme as what we thought perhaps. But we then did have this for none other than Sammy Ariba only moments later. And so Ariba coming down in towards Parabolica Curve, 2 wide with Roy Plummer, and in the end got ahead. Car went loose in front of him, that was Fox, and Ariba followed him off the road there in a panic. And well, understandably, the Type 2 racing driver losing out and having to tow to the pits after that knock to the barrier. So that was a big incident for those 2 towards the end. And well, right now, we come back to the live timings, because we do see your leader of Logan McKinsey. He makes his way on down the start finish straight, and well, I think he's been reminded in his ear by the team from Project 26 of ATC, you can't go beyond that white line. He did it briefly again there, although you would say that his wheels were on the white line, albeit with a magnifying glass there, that might be the difference. But McKinsey definitely realising right now that he can't keep getting away with it, and Joe Doe will follow him wherever he goes, as Isaac Doe, meanwhile, now ahead of Alan McCain, wants to catch up to this top 2 as quickly as he can. Through they come, and as they do, whilst they continue to battle, well, head down towards that braking zone. Here comes Doble looking around the outside. Can he get the move done? Not quite, not yet, as Logan McKenzie goes defensive, but we're right on board here, looking back for the rear of the number 4, and we're right now trying to hold on for this win, and, well, going as defensive he can for Lesmo 1. He's hoping that Isaac Doble will get involved and start to stumble on his own brother. McKenzie defended to the inside there. Joseph Doble wanted that inside, and then realised that McKenzie is absolutely obstinate there. He's as stubborn as a mule, and he's not going to let it go on this 8th tour of the circuit. But 3 more to go after this one, and right now Joe Doble's going to get a bit more inventive, but he's got his brother for close company now. I don't wonder if they'll be on the radio, the 2 brothers at this point, and figure, right, he's proving difficult to get. How do we get past him? And one thing they can potentially look to do is essentially work together going down the straight, down towards turn 1 on the next lap, where essentially Joe Doble does not go for it now. He stays as close as possible, and then he will peel out coming out of Parabolica Curve, and Isaac Doble will follow him. Now, if McKenzie sees it happening, he can't necessarily respond to it, because if Joe Doble's too close to him, and McKenzie then swerves to try and cover, it will lead to a huge instant, and, well, the fault will lie with McKenzie on that one. So, Joe Doble gets close, going through Parabolica Curve. He goes to the outside here to make it too wide. This is what he needs to do, because now, watch Isaac Doble. He will stay absolutely firmly planted behind Joe Doble, albeit McKenzie has had a slightly better exit initially, but now in the draft, McKenzie goes to the wall, and will be on the white line there. Meanwhile, Joe Doble and Isaac Doble together here, and they will now bump draft their way on past. So McKenzie then will hold the inside as they make the way on down, and Alan McCain and Kieran Smart, the 2 leading Pro-Am drivers, will follow them, and McKenzie now will find himself without a draft to work with. He'll pick up a small side toe here, as we do see Joe Doble now make his way on past, but going through turn number 1, well, there's a change of leader, and that's worked out for Double Series Racing, but Isaac Doble, unfortunately, is not going to be able to squeeze his way through, unless he's going to do it on the brakes here, coming in towards turns 2 and 3. He'll battle on the anchors, they go hard onto them, and 2 wide they enter, 2 wide they exit in the end, and then they give each other racing room. Slight elbow there for what was McKenzie or Doble, but to be fair, I think Isaac Doble won't complain about that, and Alan McCain and Kieran Smart side by side. Smart looking up the inside there as Luciano Witvoet trying to go around the outside, and, well, Logan McKenzie has called in the reinforcements. They're on their way, but they're not quite there yet as they come through Lesmo 2, and in the end Isaac Doble is going to run wide, so McKenzie takes the place back. But I wonder if there was further contact between them, so Isaac Doble falls to the back of the group, and they all make the way onwards through Seraglio now. Well, that's a chop of the change. Meanwhile, back to the fight for second place in the AM class, and Nigel Stock all over the back of Lewis Mason right now. Well, these two know each other very well from season 9, where they battled for the AM Championship in the blue lobby, and right now Nigel Stock flashing his headlights there, saying to Lewis Mason, essentially, look at me, don't look at your next braking zone. I think Mason's got other ideas, as Carl Thompson's on the back of this right now, and in the BTCC Super Touring Era Tribute livery, that's not a Nissan Primera there, even though we may want it to be, that being none other than Audi RS3. Well, Thompson, the Pro-Am driver, just wants to clear these drivers, with William Kirtland, meanwhile, Stuart Wine is close behind him as they're all trying to pick up the pace. But sun is going down here, headlights go on for these machines, and further back, Joshua Downing, he is in the midst of Craig Twardock and also Nick Clements here, as these 3 fight over 11th place. Well, it may not be for the biggest of points, but to be fair, they're all enjoying the fight right now, and that's why we want to see it, as they head on down. But you can see they're getting his elbows out a little bit, none other than Nick Clements trying to say to Downing, look, I want some space. Downing obliges, to be fair, even though he's already got plenty of space coming in towards turn number 9, but Clemens wanting just that little bit more. But meanwhile, as Joe Doble runs away at the front, Logan McKenzie right now with his teammate Luciano Witvoet behind. Witvoet has been able to blast his way into 3rd place, and Alan McCain, the Pro-Am leader right now, holding on to the back of them. Right, Swirydowicz, he wants to try and creep on through where he can. Albeit they're all breaking a straight line here. Nobody dares to make a move here. Meanwhile, Ben Altrier side by side with Mikey Doble. Doble still in a recovery. Remember the fact he started in none other than 39th in this one, given the instant with himself and Adam Delman and Wayne Douglas in race number 2. And Ben Altrier right now in the end falling behind Doble, just not quite carrying the speed through the chicane. But also I think it has to be cognizant of the fact 2 wide through there is not going to be easy, as Doble tries to squeeze on the inside of Stitchbury. Quite work there. Iron Stitchbury holding back, and Sheraton at the front of this group. The Pro-Am driver there, a bit of an anomaly, as Marcel Fritsch, the AM leader, finds himself stapled to the back of this group, but with a 4-second gap to Lewis Mason, only this lap plus 1 more to go, I don't think he'll be that worried that it's going to cost him time being behind them, and he won't need to find a way through. Further back, all the way to Fraser Rosland. He's just found his way past Joshua Downing, importantly to make sure he's clear of Roy Plummer. So still fighting and using Downing as a little bit of a spacer between the two AM drivers as they power on. But from them, we come back to the Doble Stitch Free and Altria battle as that's Mikey Doble being turned there. Oh my goodness, and it goes round once, it goes round twice. Does he go all the way round once again? No, he does not. And for Mikey Doble, well, that is going to be the nail in the proverbial coffin of the racing today after what happened in race number 2. He's just had no luck in this final race of the day either, and onto the final lap we go, and Joe Doble leads by 1 second. But right now Project 26 for ATC are trying to push onwards here, and right now Witvoet is giving Logan McKenzie all the boost he can as they make the way down towards turn 1, and already that gap down by 4 attempts. As you can see, the Logan McKenzie flashes headlights, saying to Joe Doble, we're coming for you. And meanwhile Alan McCain there, the 4th place driver, prime leader, well, I don't think he's going to have any part to play in this right now other than be an observer, as Wojciech Swirydowicz and Kieran Smart, well, they've still got a bit of work to do. They are currently apart from the top 4. Under braking here, no change between these drivers. Meanwhile, Benjamin Gregory, third of the primes. He's ahead of Isaac Doble and Wayne Douglas, with Ben Beddyworth and Reece Watt looking at each other in the battle of the 2 Audis. And then Gavin Garner, Luke Jones, Jamie Dewey and Andrew Pike complete that top 15, albeit Andrew Pike a bit too far back in this group. You can see with the rear of the picture. Meanwhile, side by side there between Altria and Horn, but it is going to be a slowdown picked up for track limit. He'll be fuming at that as we on our own Stitchbury. He's going to go on the inside immediately to take the place. And behind us, Lewis Mason fighting with Carl Thompson. Thompson looks up the inside, but Mason outbreaks him into Lesbo 1. Doesn't give him much space to operate with, just the bare minimum, which he's entitled to. But back to the front, and Joe Doble's been caught up to by Logan McKenzie. So Doble's not going to have an easy run to the finish as McKenzie looks around the outside in towards Ascari, but Joe Doble extends the corner as much as possible, makes it so McKenzie loses all the momentum. It's a good run for Joe Doble. Now all he's got to do is get the final corner right, surely. 3 attempts is the gap, and right now Luciano Witvoet trying to help his teammate out as much as he can, but he's got a problem. Alan McCain is trying to go around the outside of him, so therefore this isn't going to be easy for him as they come down towards that break. It's over 1 last time. Doble goes to the fence and McKenzie looks around the outside. Joe Doble here makes sure to absolutely park up the inside. McKenzie running on his rear bumper as close as possible, and coming out the corner, Luciano Witvoet and Alan McCain both go wide there, but Joe Doble right now holds it nice and tight, and as he makes one through, well, for Joe Doble, it's been a long time, but he's back to winning ways. It's Joseph Doble ahead of Logan McKenzie and Luciano Witvoet. Alan McCain takes the prime win ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz, with Kieran Smart taking home the run-up spot in the prime class in 6th ahead of Isaac Doble and Wayne Douglas. Ben Beddyworth makes it another trip to the prime podium, 3rd in class ahead of Benjamin Gregory completes your top 10, and Marcel Fritsch in 20th place will make it back-to-back and wins ahead of Lewis Mason, who finishes 2nd in the class, 21st overall. And then we'll have Stuart Wallace and Sam Exeter between them, and Nigel Stock, who in the end does cement a spot on the AM podium, 3rd in class for the final race of the day as they all call her down. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a conclusion to the race. Mark Hughes comes on through the final quarter as well. It's definitely been a tough day for GBRC today, and a circuit that I don't think they've really gone well in previous seasons. But right now for Mark Hughes, he does see the finish, as Andy Fox also sees the finish line. Sadly, it did go to the pits for Mikey Doble and Phil McDougall, and we did have the retirement of Sammy Ariba, but otherwise everyone else has been able to make it to the finish line on the lead lap. Joe Doble, of course, well, it's bittersweet because whilst he's taken the win of the class, Isaac Doble could join him on that podium. And also for Mikey Doble, it all end up in tatters and tears. But right now, all he's got to do, he has to be a little bit selfish at this moment and celebrate the fact that he has returned to a win. And well, for Joe Doble, wins don't come that often, but when they do feel special for him, and fends off that pressure of Logan McKenzie and Luciano Witvoet, who did everything right, but unfortunately didn't quite have enough at the end to take the win away. Alan McCain, well, races 1 and 2 definitely were races where he made progress, but race number 3 really was the dream race for him, and after taking the lead in the prime class, he never let it go. And Kieran Smart as well, when you consider how his day started compared to how it's ended, I think he's going to be very pleased to take that 2nd place spot in the prime class, and knowing that things have ended up all right on the night. As he calls on down, and Ben Beddyworth behind here, making an absolutely brilliant run of podiums today. And in fact, for Ben Beddyworth, I do believe that being none other than what was a 5th in race number 1 overall in the winning class, 2nd in class in race number 2, and now 3rd in class in race number 3. Well, he's definitely visited every spot on the prime podium today. He's wanted to do so to show to everyone that he owns that podium, and well, some big results have definitely come his way. Marcel Fritsch being on the AM class as he comes into the pit lane. 2 wins in 3 races, a huge injection of points, and his championship charge is now definitely underway with Lewis Mason 2nd behind him, knowing that championship lead could be coming to him, and Nigel Stock We took in 3 races, but in the end on that podium, and the Crystal Autosport driver there will be happy with how things have ended. But as everyone cools and down and makes their way into the pit lane, lovely view there to see all the drivers doing so. Well, let's take a look back to those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, after our final 11 laps of racing here today, Joe Doble takes victory in race number 3 for Double Sim Racing by 900ths over Logan McKenzie. The Project 26 for Alpha Touring Change driver, leading home a 2-3 ahead of his teammate Luciano Witvoet, but they could not take the critical win off of the number 11. Behind them, it was Alan McCain, your Pro-Am winner for Irish Esports powered by Crest Autosport. He'll be absolutely ecstatic about that, with Wojciech Swirydowicz in hand to settle for 5th, but knowing some huge points still coming his way for Project 26 for ATC. And the team definitely right now lording the points over their rivals, with Kieran Smart 2nd of the Prams, 6th overall. The Track Scotland driver couldn't ask for better. Isaac Doble took 7th there for Double Sim Racing after being elbowed out at Lesbo 2. And unfortunately, we haven't quite been able to get the replay footage of that. But still, for Isaac Doble, a 7th there. And some good points to come in that 3rd place in the overall championship. Definitely still within his grasp, with Wayne Douglas just behind there for Next Gen Pink. Ben Bennyworth, 3rd on the Pram podium, 9th overall for Quatermass Motorsport. In the end, fended off the charge of Benjamin Gregory to line by only what was a 10th, with the full Tilby Motorsport driver taking home at the final spot inside the top 10. Gavin Gardner was best of the rest in a length ahead of Jamie Dory, with Reese Watt there in 13th place for JW Motorsports ahead of his teammate Luke Jones, with the team getting some good points in the final race. They'll be happy with that, given they started right at the back end of the top 20, and then Andrew Pike 15th there for TSRC. Well, good recovery drive, no doubt about it, but not where he wanted to be. He wanted to be in that top 10. Matthew Sheraton took 16th ahead of Owen Stitchbury, with Ben Altrier, Lee Horn and Marcel Fritsch round off that top 20. And of course, for our 20th place finisher, the 2nd AM winner of his day, the WS Racing Esports driver, will be absolutely proud of that and knowing that points are coming his way. Outside the top 20 in 21st, it was Lewis Mason for Full Tilby Motorsport ahead of Stuart Wennis, and the Track Scotland driver in the end found himself escorted down the order over the course of this one. It's just not worked out a trick compared to race number 1. And Sam Exton, meanwhile, in 23rd place ahead of Nigel Stock, with Mason, of course, being the runner-up in the AM class. The Full Tilby Motorsport driver then staying ahead of Nigel Stock, who was separated from his rival by the 2 Pram drivers. Still, the Irish Esports powered by Crest Autosport driver will be happy to have held on versus Will Kurtler, who came on strong right at the end for Aztec Racing. Then Carl Thompson was 26th ahead of Adrian Fritsch, with George Stone, Sean Doby and Joseph Wright completed your top 30. It was a decent end to the day for Joseph Wright after a miserable race 1 and 2, but the Next Gen Blue driver will still be feeling the blues, as will Craig Twild with 31st, and Nick Clemens at 32nd was ahead of Fraser Rostance and Roy Plummer. They enjoyed a good little scrap at the end, but Rostance gave the upper hand on Plummer, and it was Joshua Downing in 35th ahead of Adam Wilson-Weir, with Michael Lees, Mark Hughes and Andy Fox completed your top 39, and Mikey Doble with that turning around, falling all the way to 40th place, a lap down. And it was also a premature end to the race for Phil McDougall and Sammy Ariba. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, as the circuit cools down and it goes silent, we're going to go silent this broadcast, but not for too long, we promise you that, because coming up in approximately 5 minutes' time, we'll be hopefully getting underway with our post-round interviews and hearing from some of our volunteer drivers, and it'll be intriguing as to what they've got to say about our 3 races today at the Monza Grand Prix circuit. But as we leave you, well, of course, don't be shy in giving us your thoughts on the racing today, and let us know what has been your favourite moment or moments in your respective chat on YouTube, Facebook or Twitch, and we'll be back as soon as possible for our post-round interviews. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time to kick off our post-round interviews. And, well, we're going to start off with a driver of ORA Motorsports who definitely saw plenty of fun and action today, because joining me now in the interview room is going to be none other than the Welshman of Iron Stitchbury. Good evening to you, Iron, and well, it's great to have you joining me in the interview room this evening, but what a day for yourself. I mean, there was no moment where you were not surrounded by action, but how was it for you at Monza?
Oh, crazy. It always is the case at Monza. And before I want to get into anything about today and as last week, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's welcomed me into this league. It's been a very nice experience getting to know everyone so far and getting to learn the rule set. Everyone's been really accommodating, and thank you to yourself for introducing me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and we're so happy to have you on the grid, of course, joining mid-season, but to be fair, you've already been a star in the 2 rounds you've taken part in, but of course, very different circuit compared to Portland last time out. It was elbows out there without the slipstream, but here today, it was full of slipstream and some elbows. Let's talk about qualifying firstly. 22nd overall. I mean, given the circumstances, were you happy with it, or did you think, you know what, that's probably what you could expect?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing for me this season is I'm taking it as a learning opportunity. I've not really driven these cars enough to be at a position where I'm comfortable yet, and I think Portland was a bit of a misnomer with my qualifying. I think 20th, around the mid-pack is where I'm kind of expecting myself to be, just while I get myself up to speed and learn to be around other cars and learn how these cars react to the conditions.
I see. Well, definitely a learning experience, but we all learn as we go, and in that qualifying session with that 22nd place, of course, meant plenty of cars for you to look to chase down in the first race of the day. Race number 1, we saw you make some gradual progress, but in terms of how you made that progress, what's it like running in such a long pack of cars? I mean, how do you know when you need to move forward versus when to stay put?
It is a bit of a game of chess in these cars, especially when the slipstream was so strong as it was, because you don't always want to be side by side and going for dives and make. So it's a lot of back and forth about working out who is going to respond to certain moves, knowing who's going to bump you as opposed to who's going to go side by side with you. It is a bit of like I said, a learning experience. A lot of these drivers know each other, so you kind of have to get involved with it to see who can help and who can be a bit of a hindrance, and it's all part of the fun. It's all part of the experience. I do enjoy being in these sort of packs because there's no better way to learn than being around people rather than being on your own.
Oh, 100%. I mean, definitely we can take from the fact that you're quite a visual learner, being able to take from other drivers around you. And then going into race number 2, of course, making some steady progress to 18th. Race 2 saw you make your way all the way to 10th. I mean, you must have been very happy with that one.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, it was nice to start making some progress. The important thing for me was not just looking at where the pros were, but looking at where everyone was and sort of learning where my pace was around the pro-ams, because there's an incredibly competitive pro-am field, and the few of the guys at the top of the am field as well who are definitely giving me some headaches. So it's nice to sort of move around and like I said, gradually move up the places. But yeah, sort of top 10 in pro was definitely an aim for me, so I'm glad I sort of was able to get up into those sort of ranks.
Well, getting up into the thick of the fighting at the very front. Race number 2 ended on a high, but race number 3, of course, we did have the top 17 in 30 grid, which meant in the end you would start just a little bit further forward from where you finished, I think on the full side of the grid, if my memory serves me correctly, but fell backwards. What happened in race number 3?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a moment on the safety car restart. I think it was myself and Luciano or Witvoet were side by side going into Curva Grande, and I think they were both pushing each other quite hard. And I went to back out, and as soon as you lift in these cars in any sort of high-speed corner, your back's going to step out, and I ended up just in the gravel at Curva Grande. So found myself going backwards, but ended up in another little pack to fight for the last few places in the pro spots.
Oh, indeed. And we take a look back at the replay footage of what exactly happened there. And like you say, we did see you understeer wide out into the gravel, but a very good rejoin and then able to come back right into the thick of the fighting for some of the last pro spots inside the top 10. And as time wore on down there, of course, what you also got to see was you right in the thick of battling with some of the veterans, such as Andrew Pike. I mean, given the fact you've only been on the grid for 2 rounds, and coming full circle now to what you were saying earlier, what's been the one thing you've perhaps had to focus on learning the most when joining the grid where you've got drivers who've been here for, say, 4 or 5 years?
It's a good question, really, Paul. I think it, as I sort of mentioned, is learning how different drivers react to you, because you can have some very quick drivers who could be very respectful and will work together to understand the pace of the race, and you'll bump each other and you'll sort of push each other along. And you can have some of the fast drivers in the Pro-Am category who want to get a bit more aggressive and sort of try and make places and get cars in between themselves and the cars behind. So I think that's been the biggest learning experience, is trying to gauge what people are going to react to different moves. That's been the kind of the onus on me for I think the rest of this season is getting comfortable with the cars and just sort of finding my feet a little bit more and working out who my allies are, seeing what sort of moves we can make going forward.
I see. We'll really appreciate the insights and the transparency on that one. And, well, we look now from Monza to our next round in 2 weeks' time. A circuit that arguably is nobody's ally. It's Bathurst. But, of course, it's a 1 hour endurance special. What's your target there?
I think just finishing potentially top 10 in Pro again is going to be a kind of target, because Bathurst is quite a good track for me. I do have some sort of success there, but more so in GTs. So it will be my first experience in a touring car or anything front-wheel drive at Bathurst. And to be honest, anything can happen on the mountain. It's just a case of being alive at the end of the race and seeing what you can do. So I think that's going to be the goal, is to just settle in early doors, not get my head into too many fights, and just sort of see where we are with sort of 20 minutes to go and work forward from there.
Well, I think a fair approach, to be fair. Like you say, see how you go and just take it from there. And well, as we get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast beyond those you thanked earlier on?
No, I think I've covered pretty much everyone. Obviously, a shout out to the guys at Ori Motorsports, sort of putting together. We've got quite a good community going on, trying to get representation around the different leagues, and it's good to see not just myself but other guys sort of representing the colours in various other leagues around the world. So big shout out to them.
All fair play. I'm sure your teammates and the wider team will really appreciate the shout out. Well, with that, Owen, we'll leave you to it for now. Congratulations on your performance today, and thank you for joining me in the interview room. We look forward to plenty more from yourself at Bathurst in 2 weeks' time. But until then, my friend, have a great rest of your evening.
And yourself, my friend.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from the RA Motorsports driver of Owen Stitchbury, and will absolutely enjoyed himself, no doubt about it. And I really love the fact he wanted to talk about, firstly, being very grateful for being on the grid, but also immediately going into the fact he's really had to learn who's his allies out there, who's the drivers who are a little bit perhaps more bitey with the fighting. And it's all part about it. Remember, he's joined a grid where we do have, in our 55 or so entrants this season, the vast majority of them have been on the grid for at least 2, if not more, seasons. Some of them all 9 seasons up to this point. So they've already got all their relationships, and then he comes in as an outsider. However, he's already making himself definitely feel a part of the grid. If it's not at Portland, where he definitely enjoyed all the elbows out racing, definitely here today. Albeit, here it was all about tactics and having to be smart, and wasn't too worried about qualifying, but knowing in the end it would all be about the races and making that steady progress. And revealing his target is to try and finish inside the top 10 wherever he possibly can to land some good points and results. And was able to do that today in both race 2 and 3, particularly when comparing himself to the pros. And also race number 1, top 10s in all of them with regards to class, but only a top 10 overall in race number 2. But building on this progress, and then when he goes to Bathurst, the strategy is going to be important, but survive first and then battle in the final 20 minutes. But we'll wait to see where we can achieve that target for victory next time out. But ladies and gentlemen, more interviews to come. We'll be back very shortly for our second interview of the day. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for our second interview, we're going to be coming none other than a Pro-Am driver who absolutely delivered today for Quakemas Motorsport, because joining me now in the interview room is none other than Ben Bennyworth. Ben, good evening to you, and what a day you've had. I mean, many would say they just want to get onto the Pro-Am podium, but for you, you seem to want to explore every step of it. A win in race 1, second in race number 2, and third in race number 3. I mean, you've covered it all.
Yeah, wow. I mean, where do I even start? Where do I even start? Like you said, all three on the podium in terms of the Pro-Am, and 3 top 10s overall. So I can't be any more happy than that, to be honest with you.
Oh, 100%. But let's try and push you in a direction to break it down a little bit. Let's talk about qualifying firstly. 11th overall, 5th in class. We saw you look quite good in qualifying, but I suspect perhaps the slipstream didn't quite work out the way you wanted it to towards the end of the session.
Yeah, qualifying was a bit of a funny one because it's just you're trying to get the slipstream off someone, and then it's almost like they just don't want to work with you, or they just pull to the side of the road or whatever. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I just couldn't really find that slipstream to get a really good lap in. But thankfully managed to sort of turn it around in the first race and second race and final race onwards. So, I mean, to be honest, qualifying's not really the be all and end all around here, to be honest. So, yeah, it's good turnaround. Good turnarounds.
Oh, 100%. And like you say, qualifying's not the be-all and end-all. In race number 1, taking the victory in the class is the be-all and end-all. I mean, how was that for you? You came storming through the field.
To be honest, I didn't really expect, especially when it happened when the accident happened on the last lap in that first race, and I wasn't even expecting to get that. Just saw them all crashing on the pit straight, and I was like, right, here we go. This is my moment to shine. This is going to be a Days of Thunder moment for me. It was just like cars going everywhere, and I was like, right, here we go. And got past Craig, and then pretty much controlled it from there. And then the second race, again, kind of got a little bit lucky with, unfortunately, what happened with Craig at the end. It almost sounds like I don't know. It's just I've got no words after tonight. Got no words. And then race 3, again, last corner, last lap with Ben Gregory. He kind of went a little bit deep in, and then my plan was to get the undercut, and then he went a little bit deep, and so I had to go around the outside of him to essentially get P3 in the class. So yeah, like I said, nice, easy, not easy. A good day overall.
Oh, 100%. I can understand why you're speechless and definitely trying to put words to it, because it has been a very good day. And, well, of course, what it does mean now is that this is going to catapult you potentially into the top 5 in the Pro-Am Championship. I mean, we've seen you on the grid in previous seasons, but I think we're really seeing you this season putting together some of your strongest performances so far. Are you just feeling as though this season everything's clicking together at the moment?
Yeah, at the minute, but I'm not really thinking about the championship. I mean, I kind of knew going into this round that it was going to be a solid weekend, or a solid night, I should say. Given how fast the Audis are in a straight line. But obviously we're going to be going to circuits that are a little bit more twisty and a bit more technical, and yeah, it's not going to suit the Audi as much, but it's just now a case of just picking up points left, right and centre as much as I can, and for the team basically at the end of the day.
Oh, no doubt. And in terms of picking up points, of course, great set of points brought in by yourself today for the team. Next time out, we go to Australia, and it's a 1-hour endurance race at Mount Panorama. What can we expect from you there?
Hopefully the same as tonight, hopefully. I mean, just did the Bathurst 12 hours with Quatermass over the weekend, and considering that it was a 2-driver team, managed to finish P12 overall, and you know, if that's anything to go by, then we should be in for a good round.
Oh, 100%. The optics are looking good, and in 2 weeks' time, we'll get to see whether you can put together a very good round to follow up with this one. But as we get ready to let you go, Ben, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout-out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, I just want to give a massive shout-out to, obviously, the guys at Quatermass and all our sponsors that are on board with us. You know, if it wasn't for them, well, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. So, yeah, like I said, I've got to give a massive thanks to all them guys, Max, Andy, Mike, everyone at the team. Yeah, it's as good as it gets, basically.
All fair play. Well, I'm sure they'll be very grateful for the shout out, and it's so good to hear you riding a high. Ben, we'll leave it there. Congratulations today on not just a win in Pro-Am, but a visit to all 3 spots of the Pro-Am podium. A huge haul of points, a great day at Monza, and we'll see you at Bathurst in 2 weeks to see what you can do there. But until then, savour the moment, enjoy it, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from none other than Ben Bennyworth. And well, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely ecstatic with it. And speechless there. I mean, I think he needs some time to just understand what happened, because being fair to him, he was right in saying the fact that things did click together with what happened at the end of race number 1 and just literally went straight through the scene and was able to avoid it, took the winning class when it was all going the way of Michael Lees. Race number 2, the second place coming to him from a 3rd place when we did see the dismay of what was Craig Twardoc's conclusion to the race, but in the right place to take it. And in race number 3, enjoyed some brilliant battling between himself and Benjamin Gregory all the way to the end. But that's the way it goes sometimes. You've got to be in the right place and have some fortune come to you. But also, the fortune is created by the fact you are there and you've got the ability. And that's exactly what he's done. And therefore, it does mean, of course, that right now he's picked up a big pool of points and he's all set now for Bathurst. And, well, with the team doing very well in the 12 hours of Bathurst and GT3 machinery, well, presuming he can translate all the ability over into the TCR car, could we see the Quetmas Motorsport driver take victory in Bathurst? We'll have to find out next time out. But, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, we've got one more interview to come this evening. Who's it going to be with? We'll just wait one moment and we'll be right back to find out. And so, ladies and gentlemen, joining me in the interview room for our final interview this evening, we've gone from Pro to Prime and now to Am, the perfect trio. It is Lewis Mason. Good evening to you, Lewis. And well, what a day today for yourself. Let's not talk about race 2 initially, but a winning class in race number 1, a 2nd place in race number 3, almost in a way, a very good day at Monza.
Yeah, mixed feelings for this one. Obviously, glad to have another win and glad to gain some more points on George in the championship. I don't think, because of what happened in race 2, I don't think I've gained on Marcel, but I think it's just bringing us all 3 closer again, which is going to make for an interesting season, I think.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we have seen over the course of this season so far, multiple different individuals in the AM class, yourself included, all have standout moments. And for yourself, qualifying in race number 1, I mean, just break it down, how did you manage to do it? I mean, we know it was the slipstream that has helped out a lot of drivers in qualifying, but the fact you took 19th overall and pole position, and the next closest was Adrian Fritchtown in 26th place, if my memory serves me correctly. I mean, you must have found a magical toe out there.
Yeah, it was about halfway through the session to the start of the session, I reckon, where I set my lap. And then after that, I just didn't have a good enough toe. I gave Gavan a good toe, and then he was nice enough to give me a toe as well the lap after. We worked together well. I think he ended up P8 or P9 in quali, and I was P13, but then got shuffled back by people doing quicker laps. I feel like I could have gone at least 3 or 4 tenths quicker, maybe. I'd messed up a couple of the corners. He didn't quite give me a toe right to the end of the lap. But still happy to be P19 and that far ahead of the next AM.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Gavin will be grateful for the fact you helped him get to that 9th place start overall. And then when we go into race number 1, I mean, did that change your thought process for race 1 a bit? Not necessarily the fact you don't need to use slipstream, of course you needed to, but just knowing you've got 8 places between yourself and the next AM car, so you don't perhaps need to worry as much about being the quickest AM out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great when you have that much of a bumper to the next AM. It just means that you can kind of dictate how your race goes a lot more. You can let people through, you can choose when to battle people. You're not pressured to gain positions to put cars in between because you've already got all those cars in between already. It just makes the racing a lot more easier and a lot gives you a better ease of mind.
Oh, 100%. And when then ease of mind meant you could ease your way gradually to that race 1 win. Another win. Indeed, you're picking up a few of those in the class now. But race number 2, meanwhile, it all went wrong. Taking a bit too much of a sausage curve at Ascari.
That was dreadful from me. I clipped the curbs, the raised curbs on the inside of the right-hand part of it. Got it going straight again, slightly clipped the gravel, and it's just rotated the rear into pike. Not helped by a couple of cars, not naming names, but a couple of cars not checking up for it and just driving flat out into it. I'm sure that'll be looked at by the stewards.
Oh, indeed. A bit of a contentious one there, but still, it did mean your race number 2 was a bit of a write-off and no real major points gains there, but you still got to the finish. And then suddenly in race number 3, you've got to come all the way through the field, albeit as the race gets underway, there's a safety car at the end of lap number 1. Where were you in all of that?
So obviously starting all the way down the order, it was just about using the option setup to get up to wherever I can. That crash happened at the first chicane, and I literally, as I was pulling through it, I see just tyre smoke everywhere. And then after the left-hander, just before the right-hander, I see a gap about a Honda width, and I just sent it through the gap and managed to get through. And when the safety car was out, I looked down and had gone from like 32nd or 36th to 24th. And I was sitting like 4th in class, so I knew from then on that it was giving me the green light to try and push for the winning am.
Oh, indeed. The light starting to point in the right direction. We saw you continue to push forward. And, of course, one try you had to make your way past is an old rival Nigel Stock. I mean, we saw the two of you get a little bit elbows out towards the end of the race. You must have missed that.
Yeah, I mean, me and Nigel, every time we're next to each other, we always give each other plenty of room. Same with Marcel from Season 8. I mean, when you've known someone and you know how to race them, it's really good. But I've spoken to him after the race. We're both under the same impression of literally just working together. If you had a run, go past them and pull them along sort of thing. Try and catch up to Marcel as much as possible, but it wasn't really helped out by one Pro-Am in particular.
All fair. Well, it didn't quite work out with the Pro-Am, as you did mention, but what we did get seen in was you able to take a comfortable second place finish come at the close of the race. And so, in a way, some big points brought back there despite the disappointment of the second race a day. I mean, it means we go into now round number 5 with yourself right in the beating heart of the AM Championship. Are you happy with where you are now going into round 5?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to be within the top 3, if I stay in the top 3, that is. I hope I do. It's nice to be up there. Obviously, I'd like to be leading it and by a comfortable margin to where I'm not having the pressure of catching people, because as I know from Season 8 and Season 9, it's a lot better to be in the driving seat of the championship and it's yours to lose, rather than you've got to be pressured into making moves on people because you need to gain points. But yeah, it'd be much better to be in first, but I'm still happy with where I am and that I'm not last in the championship.
Oh, fair play. And, well, the figures, of course, we've got plenty more rounds to go. Next time out, it's our endurance race round, our 1 hour special at Bathurst. What's the plan?
The plan is to not crash and to hopefully go 3 for 3 in AM with pole. Would also like an overall win, but you can't pray for everything, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh, fair play. I mean, you can pray and you never know what may come your way. And Lewis, as we do get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
I mean, same as always, all the admins that put the league together. Obviously, Jamie, Lee, Mark, just all of the admins. Yourself for the commentary. I really enjoy on a Wednesday whilst I'm on lunch at college, sitting and watching back the live stream. It's really fun to watch back. All the guys at Full Tilt, so Ben Altria, Ben Gregory, Will Guthrie for spotting as well. They all really help out and help me keep my head straight and make sure that I'm not going for anything stupid. And just everyone that's helped me with gaining pace for this round and giving me little tips here and there.
Oh, fair play, Lewis. Well, so glad to hear you're still enjoying things out there day in, day out. And we're very happy to hear how much fun you're having on the grid at the NXTCC. And, well, the results are coming your way and you're being rewarded for it. But with that, we'll conclude it there. And well done today on the win and the second place in 2 out of 3 races that definitely went your way. We'll see you in Australia next time out to see what you can do about making it another AM win. But until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our final interview of the day. And what a lovely interview there we've had with Lewis Mason, talking about there, firstly, the fact that right now, finding himself right in the thick of the AM Championship, a bit gutted at what happened in race number 2, and didn't want to get too embroiled in the details there. But of course, what did happen at the sausage curb at Ascari really kicking things off, and one easy mistake to make it, and a wheel caught on that curb, and afterwards, the rest was history. But eager to really talk about there the fact that in qualifying in race number 1, because of how he managed to work with Gavin Gardner in qualifying, it really made his race 1 very straightforward. Race number 2, a write-off, so he had it all to do from the back of the grid in race number 3. But after the safety car, that propelled him forward, and then subsequently he was then able to make major progress and enjoyed fighting and working with Nigel Stock. But unfortunately, the pair could not catch up to Marcel Fritsch in the closing stages due to the intervention of Pro-Am drivers around them. Still, a second place, big point, and finds himself right inside that top 5 now going into round number 5. And in Australia, he's hoping to go even higher and try to make it what is going to be another win in the AM class, and we'll have to see what he can do there. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you one thing, in the AM Championship right now, we've got plenty of personalities, and Lewis Mason is definitely one of the fan favourites as he looks to try and take that AM crown. But with that, we wrap up our interviews, and let's give you a quick reminder of who exactly we've spoken to this evening. And what's been absolutely lovely this evening is we've heard from one driver in each of our classes. We heard firstly from Unine22 of Iron Stitchbury, the Aurora Motorsports driver in the Pro class, who absolutely today enjoyed himself out there, no doubt about it. And in the end was able to finish inside the top 10 overall in race 2 and also make it top 10s in the Pros all the way through. We then heard from the Pram class driver who found his way to every spot on the podium over the day of racing, Ben Bennyworth for Quatermass Motorsport, and then we just heard from Lewis Mason, who after his win in race 1, where it wasn't quite the race 2 he wanted, but definitely returned to podium making ways in race number 3, with the full tilt Motorsport driver in the AM class definitely enjoying his time in Italy. Well done to all 3 of our drivers for the brilliant performances, and well, thank you very much for their time in the interview as well. But with that, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know how you can get on the grid to be part of the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship, the NXTCC, or any of our other ongoing and upcoming series here at Next Gen Racing, well, the number one place to go to immediately is our official website, which, as it does appear on screen, located at www.nextgenracing.co.uk, and here it is. Well, it's the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, and as we've been continuing to run series for the best part of now almost 17 years, well, we've never been a better time to have you join us on the grid. Indeed, whether you're a rookie all the way through to esports professional, there's the place for you here at Next Gen Racing, and we'll go to our website and join via the official Discord, and you can get to the beating hearts of the community. But on the website as well, you'll find out all the latest information regarding our ongoing and upcoming series with regards to points tables, schedules, and the rules. But, as well as that, if you don't necessarily want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a social media person, well, we've got you covered there as well, because we do have the official Next Gen Racing Facebook group. You're welcome to join it. It's at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, and there you can get to know a little bit more about the guys and girls behind the scenes that make up the Next Gen Racing staff and admin team, including what they do not just on the virtual circuit, but also on the real circuit, with several of them being real-life racing drivers, marshals, alternative stewards. We'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors without whom this would not be possible: PowerMaxed, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, Sam Cases UK, Falcon and PC Builds and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and of course, lastly but by no means least, none other than Doble Motorcycles, our title sponsor. And if you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles, the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer? Because given the family's rich racing history through 3 generations as currently embodied by Mikey Doble, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, as well as his brothers of both Joe Doble and also Isaac Doble, well, you can be certain that you're going to receive excellent customer service from lights out to checker flag. And if you'd like to know more, do head to their website at doble.co.uk today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we turn our attention now to round number 5. We have done our time in Italy. Monza has been full of magnificence and madness, but what exactly waits on Tuesday the 10th of March 2026 is a game of a 1-hour endurance race. It's the 1-hour special, and somebody will need to be crowned the king of the mountain. Come tune in 2 weeks' time as we continue the story of the season and get to see who exactly is going to be able to take victory at Mount Panorama. But until then, what we've seen today is that in the Pro Class and the overall championship, Project 26 for ATC are leading the way, albeit a difficult mid-race portion for Swirydowicz, which means that Luciano Witvoet will have retaken the lead, whereas in the Pro class, well, it's all been blown wide open once again as our rivals continue to shuffle back and forth, but Ben Beddyworth has catapulted himself right into the thick of the Prime leaders, and then in the AM class, everything seems to be creeping the way of Lewis Mason at the moment, but understanding Marcel Fritsch is keeping hold at the very top with 2 wins today, making sure his championship lead is not going away. But who exactly will be leading come the end of our time in the mountain? We'll come tune in next time out to find out. But until then, we have been Next Gen Racing. This has been the NXTCC, and I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, that's all from us here at Next Gen Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.